we did Craig
Okay.
They approved.
So 10, what do we need, 10?
We just said about that, Jonathan just found everything.
Krista, what's the next?
Listening to her practice at home.
Jonathan just found out they were doing a whole bunch of like AI cameras that they weren't
Okay.
telling anybody about.
So it is now 6:01. I'll call our meeting to order. We've established quorum. Public comment. Trista, do you have any public comment? I'm going to take a moment for public comment. I reviewed the last couple of meetings and just wanted to kind of remind us and everyone that watches this how this process works. This committee is appointed by council members for citizens to go out and collect input, use our collective knowledge and experience to create changes to our guiding document, our city charter. After we provide those determinations to council, they go on to be voted. And at that time, council has the opportunity to talk within themselves to determine if they want to add any additional items. They can even add a competing item where we might have something and they might want to put a counter item there. They can't change our items. But the point of that is that there is a separation between what we do as citizens and what they do as council. And so, watching the meeting last month, I felt like there was a breach in decorum. It's an open meeting, anyone can attend. There's no ethics rule that says that a council member cannot show up here and participate in the discussion. But in my opinion, it is a breach of decorum for that to happen. Because the idea is that then that council member can get us to author amendments that council can't have a say in to say yes or no. And so, in my opinion, that is a way of manipulating the system, of using the way that we have this set up to get away from having a discussion with your peers. And I find that distasteful, at least. And that's all I'll say about that. Moving on.
Can we respond?
No, sir. Public comment, there is no discussion, no response, and you have to sign it beforehand. Item 3. We're on to our regular agenda. Open item 3A, 2026-0373, discuss and consider action to approve the minutes of the April 2nd, 2026 Charter Review Commission meeting. If you haven't already reviewed those minutes, there is a copy of them available for you to review. We'll give everyone 60 seconds to take a look at that. If you have any changes, amendments, additions, deletions, please let me know. All right, hearing no suggestions for changes, can I have a motion?
I move to approve the meeting minutes from last month's meeting.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Closing 3A, moving on to 3B, 2026-0375, discuss and consider action regarding recommendations for amendments to the city charter as previously approved by the Charter Review Commission. All right. We have, well, there's an email from a month ago that had some of the items that Mike put forward. And so I've got a list of things here that I want to get caught up on with this all. If anybody doesn't have anything from section 1 or 2 that they'd like to reopen, I'm going to reopen section 3.05.
Are we looking at this report thing?
You can look at whatever you want, sir. But yeah, that's a good guide, because that has, I believe, all of the substantive changes in order. So I'm opening, I said 305, I meant 304.
On compensation?
Yeah, so my issue with 304 is that it is, I don't think it captured the intent of what we were talking about. We were talking about adding a salary or some sort of stipend to council. And the way this is written here, all it does is affect a cap on the reimbursement. So if you read it, it says that members of the city council shall serve without compensation, and then talks about can receive $500 and $750 per month, both payments intended to reimburse each council member for necessary expenses. I don't think that was the intention of what we talked about. I'm trying to get connected to the internet here. Apologies. And so I have a recommendation on that one. I was only here 45 minutes ago. You think I'd have taken care of it? Via public, open browser and connect. Blah, blah, blah. Oh yeah, terms and conditions, I agree. All right, now I'm playing with fire. Okay, so seeing that it was two things here. One, I think this grossly miscaptured our intention. And two, taking into consideration that there was some discussion about whether or not we had the right kind of vote to determine what the amounts should be. I'm going to offer this as a change. And so the wording that I'm proposing would be, members of the city council shall serve with compensation as determined by the council compensation committee. Council members, including the mayor, are eligible for reimbursement for all necessary expenses incurred in the performance of its official duties. And so the idea is that, and we talk a lot about specificity in this document, right? And we want this document to be generic. And so I think the bigger question is, I think we get too caught up in the amount, right? Whether it should be zero or whether it should be $1 million, right? The idea is that whether or not council should be compensated. And so I think that's the essential issue that we should look to put to the voters. Should our council members be paid? And let them decide that. And then I've got of course the next question is, well, what's the council compensation committee look like? And I've got a wider change would be adding a section 812, a council compensation committee that would go along with creating a council committee. Council would appoint a committee to look at this, and we can discuss that. But the first part I'd like to throw at everyone is, how do you feel about removing the amounts from the charter? Definitely fixing the wording so it's not a cap on reimbursement, but just make it a simple question to the voters: should council be compensated, or should we leave it the way it is?
I think you're right.
I'm going to go here first because I had a hand.
So I think as a citizen, I would say, well, yes, but how much, right? Like that would be on top of my mind of, well, how much are you talking? Are you talking this much or this much? And so I think if we're putting it to a vote of the citizens, they're going to want to know how much. And I think that if we can't have some kind of specificity on that in the charter, I think there's got to be some way of, I don't know, having I'm not saying we can't have the specificity in the charter, it's like, what does the group want to do, but I think they would want to know how much, and I think they would want to actually vote on it. I think there's some strong opinions in the community about what it should be, if there is anything, and they would actually want to be able to say, so I don't know if a council-appointed committee that determines what the council's going to get paid is going to be seen as like a favorable way to approach it.
Less than, let's say, Austin, which gets to vote on their own pay raises. But I understand your point. Go in here.
I remember when we had this conversation, we were looking at the compensation in other cities. Now, were they written into the charters? I don't remember. I think that was also another conversation in and of itself. I did just look up City of Hutto. I haven't compared other cities, but they do have a specific amount written in the charter, so I don't think it would be uncommon, I guess, but again, that's just one other city. And I do agree to your point, that I think citizens are going to want to know a specific amount that they're going to be voting on.
All right, now we'll come back to Sam.
I have pretty similar points to what Tracy was saying, is that putting it in the charter, one, lets the citizens decide, okay, we're going to agree to pay them, in this case, $500 a month. Whereas if you have a committee and leaving it open basically to council, they could potentially stack that committee and just vote themselves whatever money they want. I think that causes a problem. In this case, we've locked it in for 5 years. 5 years from now, this council meets again, this committee meets again, and they determine if that's still a reasonable amount or increase, decrease, whatever it is, and then take it back to the voters. But then, and then you could potentially have competing, like you said, competing things on the ballot if the council wants to put something forward. But at least the people of the city are saying, okay, we're agreeing to spend our money to pay our city council members, and we're agreeing to this much, and we're not just kind of leaving it open to their discretion. I think that's kind of a problem.
It sounds, I understand what you're saying. It sounds a bit alarmist when you say something like council would stack that committee.
I'm not saying
because
they
council
could
stack this committee.
We're
right?
allowing them the option to
And
do
so
that.
you're always going to have differentiation of views being represented by each council member. But I understand your point. Yes, sir.
Okay, first, I do agree with you on the fact that it needs to be reworded where members of the city council shall serve without compensation. Should be changed to with compensation. That was the intent of what we had a conversation with, okay? So, and let the voters decide on that.
Right.
Otherwise, it's, as somebody who did go and research every city council in the area, what they made, the majority of those were included in, the amounts were included in the charters. By the back, there were some that said that they would be by decision by the council, whatever that is called. I forget what it is. But the vast majority of them were set, the numbers were set in the charters. And I do agree that the citizens, when they vote on this, they're voting, that they need to know what they're voting for, and that includes the amount. And and I know you think it's inflammatory, but it's also realistic that council members do tend to appoint people they know that share the same ideals that they do. I know that for sure on committees. And that could skew any future committee's opinion of what to be charged here. This takes that out of the council's hands, takes it out of the council's appointees, and lets the entire public vote on that amount. And therefore, there's no chance of it even being questioned as far as the intent of how much it is and whether the amount is being determined by the council.
I understand your point. We're going to move to another person. And I think you and I were appointed by the same council member. But anyway, go ahead.
I don't think so.
No?
No.
I know I put a lot of thought into this one, even since then. And you bringing up that point, the fact that it says it's essentially as a cap, I feel like, and since it's a per month, I'm wondering if the wording should be literally put the word maximum of that per month. If we are going to put a cap, because if they just go on vacation for a month, or if they, whatever it is, if they're not doing anything for a month, would they get that compensation, or is it just because they're going to be shown receipts or whatever that they're getting compensated for things? I don't know. It's just a thought I had as far as if we're putting a little cap on it, if it per month, the way it's written, if it should be more explicitly that way, or not. And that's why I'm like, I don't know, it's just a thought I had with
We,
it.
we got out of the weeds with that, figuring that could be set by council policy.
Okay.
And the intention here was to, as Terry pointed out, pay a salary or compensation of $500 a month instead of $50 a month, independent of any reimbursement of expenses.
And the only problem with the salary aspect of it is I don't know how that comes in legally as far as, where that goes like with taxes and stuff, how that applies in that aspect of it.
We'll leave that
Are
up
they-
to their individual tax attorneys, but there's plenty, as Terry again pointed out, there's plenty of councils that are compensated. Anybody else before we start recycling?
I was just gonna add to Craig's point that, like for Hutto, it was tied to attendance of I believe it was tied to attendance of the city council meetings. Right, so it had something to do with attendance, so that was one way that they were tying it to activity. I don't know if we would wanna do something like that.
Yeah, and potentially, again, my thought here, in terms of creating a separate body, I assume the makeup would be similar to this one, may even be some of the same faces. But the idea is that the focus of that body would be very narrow, right? That would be the only fight that they have to worry about, as opposed to where we've got a whole charter to review here, and 5 years ago, again from now, this discussion comes up, will it consume a whole meeting or two? That's my only thought.
My concern then would be like, but then when does it go back to the voter? So like you have the committee review, they come to a quorum and say this is what the salary is,
Mm-hmm.
but then the citizens don't get to vote on it.
Right.
So that's where my concern would be, is like I want citizens, because we know they don't participate, they do go out and vote.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd much rather see something that they can vote on so that they're getting their word out.
Right. I understand.
On your
Wait,
point,
we got,
on your point that,
excuse me, Terry, we're over here with Ursha.
No, I agree, and if you remember during a previous Charter Review Commission election, we had it in there, and it failed by 275 votes, but the citizens got to vote on it. It wasn't tied to attendance or anything, but I think we do need to compensate them. I sit in these council meetings, and sometimes past 2, we're here to midnight almost, so they do deserve compensation. I think we put it in here and let the voters decide the amount.
Just to kind of clarify, like the difference between a committee like this, where we're kind of looking at the interests of the city, versus a committee completely dedicated to the amount of pay that a city councilman gets, that is entirely in their own self-interest. And, we'd like to think our city council members all act appropriately, but we don't want to give the image of impropriety. We don't want to give them the opportunity for people to say, okay, well, they're just stacking a committee so that they can pay themselves more. And I think that's going to look really bad. Even if they don't mean badly, like, you can say, okay, hey, we're going to decide how much we get paid through another committee that we appoint. I think that's problematic.
So what I'm hearing is we don't have an appetite for changing this, pulling the amounts out, and I respect the body here, unless anybody wants to make comments about pulling these amounts out. I haven't heard any. Everyone kind of says they like the amounts codified in the charter, so I'm good with that.
But can we clean up the language so that it doesn't appear that the amounts are talking about the reimbursement? Like the reimbursement is
Right.
separate.
Yeah, that's separate.
Like,
I do want to give it back to Mike to reword so that first part there where it says members of city council shall serve without compensation should read members of the city council shall serve with compensation, semicolon, council members receiving $500 per month and the mayor receiving $750 a month, period. And then it should have the original language talking about receiving reimbursements for any expenses incurred. But we can go ahead, and I think we struck from the original version, upon approval of the city council. I don't think there's ever been a practice in place where council's voted on somebody's mileage being approved, so we can leave that part struck. Is that clear? Thank you. All right. Anything else on section 304?
So for clarification, we're not going to decide on the compensation amount. It's to be determined later by someone else.
No,
We already did.
To be clear, we're going to leave it exactly as we voted, at $500 and $750 a
No, I
month.
mean, that's for reimbursements. I'm talking.
No,
that was for
that's for salary. This was miswritten.
Okay,
Reimbursements,
will be
whatever.
based on what was
Clarify
spent.
breaking up the two for the payment and the reimbursement.
Right,
So they're separate.
Okay.
thank you. That's
And
exactly.
reimbursement is just
correct.
whatever they charge.
Right,
Correct.
right.
Okay, so the
Okay.
Payment still.
Good?
Filed
All right.
$750.
I'm just going to read these out, and if you have comments on them, or changes, or questions, please speak up, and then I'll call on you, and then we can move around the room. 305, 308, 310, 314, 315, 401.
Wait,
She has
hang on.
three.
315
What-
ordinances.
315.
The ordinance in general on the procedure. I looked at the revised draft and I thought we needed to switch around the procedure where it says any member of the council may offer an ordinance in writing after it's been approved as to form. But can we change that to say any member of the council may offer an ordinance in writing and place it on the agenda of a regular city council meeting after it has been approved as to form by the city attorney. That's paragraph D.
I don't think that was part of the original.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Never
I
mind,
wouldn't, yeah, I don't know that the
crossed
city
out
attorney
3
would
days.
want that pressure to approve something ahead of time. Typically, what happens is council says, oh, we want to do blah, 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 and then they give it to the attorney to make sure it's legal. As opposed to presenting something to an attorney that may or may not be politically motivated and says, oh, well, that's, you want to put the horse before the cart.
But I was saying it has to be approved as to form before they place it on the agenda. It's okay.
Yeah. So like, I understand what you're saying. And it's just, the form is adopted afterwards. So in other words, when all of our amendments are put together, they'll go to the attorney and they will be crafted in language for the ballot, right? And there'll be ballot language, because it's not going to be a red line version that you're going to vote on the
Right.
ballot, right? It's
Okay.
going to be, and so the attorney's got a lot of work, but it typically, and Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but it typically comes after action is taken.
That's my preference. That keeps me out of trouble.
All right, anything else on 315? Did we go through the whole thing you had there?
I think so.
Okay. If you have any reservations, this is the time to talk about
I'm
it.
good.
Because this is the last one, right?
I know.
If we don't keep Trista here to midnight, she's gonna think we're not working on it.
I hope not.
All right, 401.
On the title of that 401, it says council manager, should that say city manager? Okay.
Yeah.
Is anybody else dying from allergies?
Yeah.
Like everybody? If you're immune from allergies, I don't know if we can be friends. No. But yeah, no, it's horrible. 402. .404. .602.
Here, give her that pencil. Good job.
The Gen X, the Gen Zers even know what
I
a
bring
pencil
up at dinner
is.
parties, like I'm just telling people.
Yeah.
703. 704. 602. 903. Oh, I've got a bunch. All right, 903B. Going down to the section here where it says comparative figures for the current fiscal year's adopted budget, year-to-date actual and income and expenditures and estimated year-end results. I don't know if I didn't catch this part of the conversation from the last month's meeting where we were talking about year-to-date on a budget item. For a lot of us, we've got a car payment, we've got an electric bill, we got a water bill, and it's a monthly occurring expense. So I can budget out what I'm going to spend for it, and then I can predict each month how I'm doing. Municipalities do a lot of large expenditures, and so there's not a linear progression of expense. You may go 6, 7, 8 months because the expense isn't due until a specific time, and that budget just sits at zero. And then everyone's asking questions. Why is that zero? Why haven't we spent that money? What's going on? Or we spent it all the first month. And then everyone's wanting to know, why did we spend it all the first month? What are we going to do for the rest of the year? And so my thought there and my recommendation is that we eliminate the year-to-date part of it and just word it so that we're getting the current fiscal year's actual and estimated income and expenditures for the fiscal year's actual income and expenditures. I think that I know everyone's talking about transparency on the whole year-to-date, but there's nothing transparent about it. It's still opaque. You still have to ask questions to understand whether or not it's on track or not.
I don't know, I feel like we're saying, tell me what you've spent so far this year and what you expect to spend for the rest of it. I don't think, so your exact scenario is, there's a big item bill that we haven't paid yet, or, we're over budget right now, we were front loaded in the first half of the year. That all comes through because we're not planning to spend anymore. That's part of the reason we worded it that way.
I don't see any issues with it.
Greg, Carol, I will not abide by side chatter. If you have something you'd like to share with us, please voice it so we can all hear it. It doesn't detract from the conversation that's going on. Sorry, Terry.
I just said, when we discussed that was part of the reason we worded it this way, so that we would know, like what you're talking about, how much has been spent when. And part of that is if you're not spending any now and spending it later, that's part of the transparency part that we want to know.
I mean, to me, if you say you're wanting to look at the current fiscal year's actuals, adding in year-to-date actuals, to me, that's saying the same thing.
So
It's
not,
just being more specific to say, like, for people to hear year-to-date, that means, to me, it's just a little more clear and a little more transparent of what that means. I don't see an issue with saying, we want to know how much we've spent so far and then what we expect to keep spending.
any other comments?
I want to say during the discussion, we were continually referencing the GFOA, and that's where the language was also getting pulled from.
The first time I heard somebody say that acronym on the tape, I did a double take.
Yeah. So I feel like that's where, like, because even I was just like asking the person who's here, and I'm sorry, I'm bad with names, I'm not remembering, like, what was their annual process and everything. And so I think by the end of it, they were also like, yes, this is something that our city already kind of does based off of the certification criteria that they have to be met to get that credential.
Right.
So that was why we landed on that as well. I was just trying to give another reference that I understood on my vote for it.
Gotcha.
I think what we kind of ended up with was we pretty much codified what the city already does.
If there's no other discussion on that item, I'll move on to 903B1. one. This one seems odd to me, because it says itemized expenditures categories by significant type and subcategory with significant detail to clearly identify the purpose and amount of each category as defined by council policy. So, one, there's already a council policy kind of directing budgetary things. And two, by saying that on this item, it takes all the teeth out of it. It's no longer a charter requirement. It's a charter requirement the council can modify by their policy. Does that make sense? The second issue I have with B1 is that there's no definition of significant type or a significant subcategory or definition of what significant detail is.
I think that's where the defined by council policy came in.
Yeah, and so I think the original verbiage serves quite well there because you've got council policy already controlling. I think the original section just talks about creating budget items for each department. And I'll go back and pull that up. I'm sure I have that open here.
I think the clarification there is the way it's currently written is it's a budget per department.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the way we're writing it is it's now breaking it up within the department, how much went to payroll, how much went to operations, whatever else.
And that's already done, right?
I think that's another one was codifying. what we're
Budget,
doing.
yeah, but my issue is that policy is gonna be a much broader statement and gonna define all of these things much better, more eloquently. And what we've done here is simply attempt to put guardrails on there, but not really changing anything.
You're not wrong in that it kind of does take the teeth out of it.
And so I would recommend that we strike that amendment and leave it as worded, an itemized estimate of the expense of conducting each department, division, and office. That's gonna break it down, and then when council gets their packet, they can see all the numbers, and I think we've got something further on down where that's now gonna be published. I think it already is, but it'll be more readily accessible. See some heads nodding in the affirmative, and I see some stern looks, like I don't care.
Indifference is maybe.
My instinct is to find a way to better define this, but I can't think of a way to do that, so it's kind of stuck.
I think it's clearly a policy thing.
It is, but we want to make sure they're doing it, and that's kind of how it gets catch-22 a little bit.
I think they are doing it, and then
They
if
are.
they're not doing it, we vote for new council members. That's kind of how it works, right?
If it is there and it's defined by council, yes, it's by their own definition, but then at least that policy is public and a lot easier to read and go straightforward instead of just leaving it as is, which is less detailed. That's the only reason why I could see the defined by council policy. Yes, it does take the teeth out of it, but then those teeth are like visible. Anyone can be
Council
able to see those
policies are
levels.
affected by resolution or ordinance, and they're all voted on publicly already,
Okay.
right? There's no secret council policies that aren't in the public view.
But it doesn't say council policy now, does it? Now it's basically whatever the city wants to provide as long as it meets that requirement, right?
And again, if it doesn't meet the requirement set by council policy, right? Council directs everything that happens, right?
So they have to set a policy on what that budget looks like, or the city can submit it and they can say this is fine.
Or if the city manager doesn't produce what they want, they can fire them and get a new one. I mean, there's all sorts of redress available to them. But I've not heard of the will of council being woefully disobeyed by staff.
But wouldn't this also give them the opportunity to just not have an opinion on it, rather than kind of forcing them to, you have to at least make a list of what this is itemized by, and that list has to be publicly available, as opposed to what it is now, which is basically they can just sign off on it without really putting a,
Okay, so 903B1 doesn't say anything about making it publicly available. That's handled in a different section.
but if there's a council policy with the
Right.
new wording, that would require it to be publicly available, right?
If council affects a policy, all council policy
Yeah.
is affected publicly, correct. But that's the policy, not the breakdown of the things that they're looking for.
But wouldn't the policy, because the policy here is what are the itemized expenditures categories? So-
Right, but that policy would just say, give me all your itemized expenditures, and the policy's done. The policy's not gonna contain those facts until every year, every month, or every quarter that they're created. Policy, voting on that policy decision on public venue doesn't expose the things that you're looking for.
So could we just reword it to do that?
I think it's handled in another section where we talk about budget being formatted in a readable way or something. I saw that down here. Yes, I think you already handled that. And so, any other comment on B1? Not, I'll ask for if there's someone willing to make a motion to strike those changes.
So moved.
I got a motion, second?
Second.
Excuse me. I got a motion and a second. All in favor of striking the changes to 903B1, raise your hand. One. Wait for Trista to get all the names. Got them. And those opposed, please raise your hand, even though they were blanks before. This way we can, got them? All right, motion passes. We will strike that. Anything else in 903? There was a lot of changes in there.
You okay with the rest of them?
Sir?
You're okay with the rest of them, Jim?
That's a tough question to answer. I'm not willing to pick a fight on. How about that?
I understand.
Right? Yeah, they're
I got you.
whatever. 908. And I think this is the one that's going to expose, Sam, to your earlier comment. Put more guardrails on council to put this up. Notice that when I read this one, I didn't say as affected or determined or regulated by council policy, right? This is just a broad sweeping charter requirement.
You're gonna do this, yeah.
1101, guess who has something to say about 1105?
Yes.
All right, 1105, what do you got?
1105A, the way this is written was not the way it was presented and voted on.
Okay.
Here it says, written comments, the city shall permit members of the public, shall permit members of the public to submit written comments on any posted agenda item. Written comments timely received in accordance with procedures established by the city shall be made part of the official record. The council may provide by rule for such comments to be read aloud in whole or in summary during the meeting. The intent of this, first of all, the council may provide by rule for such comments to be read aloud in whole or by summary during the meeting. Puts this back in the hands of the council to decide whether they will be read aloud or summarized or not in there at all. Which the intent of this, I'll read the motion as Sam had presented it and I seconded it. This is taking out the us and everything that was in there. And you can see this at the video of that meeting at the 3:38, 45-minute mark. I motion that we allow public written comment to be read and written into the record for every meeting, submitted at least 3 hours at a time, which I believe he meant before the meeting start time. That was not part of it. As well as pre-recorded video played. It also a 3-minute and 3-hour time period, which again, I believe he was saying for 3 minutes for the video, 3 hours has to be submitted 3 hours before the beginning of the meeting. What was also mentioned in that, which was not part of the motion, which I suggest adding to it, we had discussed a word limit. I think you presented it first, and then said a 350 word limit to keep it from going on and on and on. Somebody submitting, a Stephen King book to be read. 350 words. Yeah, so 350 words.
I've already got my book stacked up.
Yeah, so 350 words could be read in 30 minutes. I mean, 3 minutes. Can be read in 30 minutes too, but 3 minutes could be read. I would also suggest adding to it, first of all, I think it needs to be more as to what we said as giving the council may provide by rule for such comments to be read. That was not part of the motion that was made. The motion was, we're going to do this. The council has to allow it. Written statements are going to be presented. The written statements will be read into the record. That's how the motion was made. That said, I think that with that, we need a 350 word limit be added to this. So it sets parameters on it. And the other parameter that needs to be included is a clause that comments have to meet common decorum for public meetings. So somebody couldn't just write in a bunch of trash, cussing, and, so it's kept clean where our secretary doesn't have to read a whole bunch of ugliness. So it has to meet common decorum for public meetings. No cuss
Who
words.
defines common decorum?
No cuss, I think no cuss words and stuff like
No,
that.
I'm not saying define it, because that, whatever definition you give.
Well, we can come up with a definition if you want, but the purpose of that would be
No, I
that we're
understand.
not cussing the council out and stuff like that, that it actually has meaning, that people aren't just writing in just to be mean.
Well,
Okay?
you can still be mean with decorum. I think the state legislature, you can provide written comment testimony to any one of the committees. And it's entered into the record, but it's not read aloud.
Okay,
Because they get
we
thousands.
discussed all this last time you were here. It was the last thing on the meeting. Right now, you write an email into a city council person, and you have no clue if that's ever read. If it's not read into the record, it doesn't appear in the record. If it's not read in the record, you have no clue if that goes to the city councilman and into the trash, never being read. You don't have it. I have written, as you know, I have written several letters emails into the city council and gotten responses back from 1 out of 7. I have no clue if the other 6 ever read it. How's that presenting my voice, allowing me to have voice? And again, this doesn't just apply to me. At the time I was writing those, I had a rotary cuff repair where I couldn't get out of my house.
All right,
But it applies to
I'm
older
going to cut
people.
you short here, Terry, because you've had the floor for a significant amount of time. Any other comments on the written comment? Jamie?
I just want to restate that I thought the written comment was very ableist because we said 350 words were a normal average range for writing time. People with disabilities, they might need more words to use to express what they're feeling or what they're saying. So once again, I said no, and I didn't appreciate it. And then also the point that you're just making, we can't police words. And I think acknowledgement is acknowledged in many different ways. And a verbal acknowledgement, visual acknowledgement, that's not always guaranteed that they're going to retain it. So I was very much like if we can get it of record, that would be my preference for the verbiage versus what is saying like they're going to read it aloud, just because I think that does take up time, and it's still good that your information came across to the people that need to hear it.
When you speak in a meeting, it
Terry,
takes some
you
time.
already
also.
had your turn. You don't get to respond. This isn't a back and forth thing. I saw that happen in the last couple meetings, and I'm sorry it set a precedent. I'm not going to allow it. You got your words. Jamie got her words, and somebody else. And we'll circle around and you'll get another chance. You get another bite at it. But we're gonna go to Sam next. Greg was stretching, but then we'll come back to Tracy.
I think that to the points here, I think these kind of apply to all three of these points, but to kind of go off of what you said, I think everybody who comes to a meeting in person is able to come speak for, was it 3 minutes? The written and the pre-recorded would basically give them the opportunity, if they were, disabled, unable to come into the meeting for whatever reason, they get the same perspective in the room as anybody else. They get this public comment, everybody can hear it. It's not just the city council. It's not just like a private email to the city council member. It's read aloud to the room. It's read into the record. Anybody who looks at the record of the meeting, the agenda of the meeting, can see minutes, I guess, can see that record. I think that gives them the opportunity. I just don't see a reason why we shouldn't have this like this.
Here's your reason. Public comment, there's no requirement of city residents, right? It's an open meeting. Anybody can come. People from the ETJ can come and voice their concerns. People from Williamson County can come. People who are visiting from Florida that just want to speak in front of a public audience to practice, they can come.
Chad goes deep.
And so you're gonna, once you allow this, you're gonna get, in my opinion, you talked about alarmist, here's an alarmist thing back at you. Political groups, whatever side of the spectrum they're on, all across the spectrum, sending in 1,000 emails that need to be read into the record, and now you got a 6-hour-long meeting.
It can be abused.
It's good.
You're
It's
just raising the
too
concern.
easy to be abused. And now this says you can submit videos as long as they're 3 hours ahead of time. Well, everyone assumed that it's their one video that's being submitted. Staff can review that 3 minutes and say that one's
60
clean,
minutes.
check mark, go. You get 1,000 videos submitted before the meeting. You're gonna play all, are they at 3? Even if they're 3 minutes, you don't have time, there's not time to review those. There's a gap, right? And so I think this is, it opens up our city to harm by putting this in the charter. And I want to come back over to Greg now.
All right, so
Wait, no, I'm sorry. Tracy, you were stretching.
they had it
Tracy.
first.
Go ahead. I'm just mulling back over what my thoughts are.
Yeah,
Okay,
if you recall, my desire was to basically allow it to be live from previous discussion, and I know what we voted on was something similar to this. The one thing I will push back on you, Jim, is I'm just going by something I 100% experienced. We were naming the school after General Marshall in Austin ISD, and everybody got a phone call of a minute, and every single person, as long as they met the deadline, they heard it, and it wasn't abused. And so that already exists in other cities, and so I wouldn't want the negative to outweigh the real reason for it. And so I'm supportive of the 350, because I think I say 350 is not long, many words, and 350 words, not characters, 350 words. But I think it's kind of important for that to be the case. At the current time, I can't see how people have been abusive of these things.
I've got an idea, and that is we got to put some sort of a safety valve in case we do come under some sort of harm attack, right? And that is so maybe there's just a cap or a release valve where should the city get more than 50 or 100 or pick some number, you guys can make it up, that triggers an ability to kind of revise the policy. I don't know, is there any way to kind of put a check in there so that, go ahead, Sam.
I mean, the issue is, right, that the agenda for council meetings is published right now. It's currently published on the Friday before the meeting. It's Wednesday before the meeting.
Right, so if 10,000 people put a 3-minute response in, you won't even get to review them all.
Exactly.
You've got to start watching it. Now the meeting's going to take 2 weeks,
Right.
right?
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. Is there some sort of a cap we can put on the number of submissions, or some other way of like a failover where it's like, hey,
That's why the state legislature requires your presence to give your testimony. If you show up, you get to talk, unless it goes to 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. But all of the written comments that people submit in the kiosk or online, all those written comments are submitted, and you can read them all right there on the Texas Legistar thing. But they're not read out loud, right? They're submitted to the record, but they're not read out loud. All right, I'm circling around the second round now. I'm coming to Terry.
Okay. As I mentioned in the last meeting, this has already been in place where the city council had this, where they read the comments in there. And I went back through those videos of all those deals, and the average time was 3.5 minutes for all the comments that were presented. It was not abused during the entire time it was available. And so it's disingenuous to think all of a sudden it's going to be misused, because it wasn't before. There's no background on that it was abused. If people show up in mass, they get their 3 minutes. Y'all don't deny them the 3 minutes. They get them 3 minutes to do. Why should somebody that's handicapped at home, a mother that has to stay with her kids, somebody that was injured like me that could not make it, older people that can't make it out, that are homebound, they're voters, they pay taxes just like everybody else, but their voices are never heard because they can't make it to the city council. There's reasons why they cannot make it to a city council, but their voices are silenced because now they write in an email and they got no clue what happens with that email. It's not read in the bill. It's not heard in the city records. You know, that's denying those voters, those citizens, the right to be heard. And there's no precedence to think that it's going to be 1,000 people. There isn't.
So why the opposition to putting a cap at an hour for non-in-person, first come, first served? Why can't? Why
Okay,
20 people.
if you want to cap it at an hour, that's fine. But again, if you have a whole bunch of people come into the place, do you cap it at an hour for what they can talk?
No,
But then the rest could be put into public record. Like, you could do the first hour read aloud, and then the rest will go into public record. So you could build like a secondary measure.
Well,
So I get it, but I'm just saying, like, there is an option.
The problem with that is I can see it being misused by the city with, okay, which one came in first? This supports this thing, but this one doesn't. Let's go, we want this one put in here and this one not. There's no regulation that says which email came in first and which one's going to be read versus which one isn't.
There's timestamps.
You could just go first in order.
Who has access to those timestamps to verify that?
Chronological
Probably
order.
a city council member or whoever runs council.
That's going to be, that's going to be your
gonna be our
council
friend
policy
here,
that
right?
determines that.
Well,
I mean, in the state legislature, when you're submitting your comments, you submit a green card if you're in favor of it or a red card if you're against it. And then that way they can count how many opposing views they have together. There's a lot better ways, I think, to do this than, at least the way it's written. It's way too open. And especially with allowing video, you can play the video at council.
that was not my suggestion.
Yeah.
So,
I totally support it. And I wanted it live. But I think once
I
again,
like the live part. I think that's good. I think if you have some teleconferencing, there's some hurdles there for staff to figure out how to make that happen. But I think that's good because then, like you're saying, if you're at home and you can't get here, well, at least you can tune in and now you can participate in the call, right? Whether it's Zoom or whatever.
I think the point was the technology, the cost of the technology, and the fact that we don't have it. I wasn't against that.
I mean, you can do it.
I'm fine with that too. But I think we were mentioning, I forget who mentioned it. Maybe Trista. I don't know.
Don't point to Trista.
Well, somebody mentioned the fact that we don't have the technology available, so it's unrealistic that we can do that at this point.
Right. Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, I mean, we've done it
totally
before.
possible. And all I was going, basically, the piece of live is it'll make those who are going to try to abuse it have to be patient as well.
Mm-hmm.
And more importantly, as soon as they go past their 3 minutes off, you
Right.
know, the
And
control.
I'm not,
So-
and I don't
You got
object to
control
that if there is a technology available for it. I think that's a
we
great
got
idea.
that.
I think it's a great idea.
Zoom? I don't know.
the current technology that's running these also has the ability to put somebody as a speaker.
Yeah.
So it's no different. The current, what they're using right now, you put somebody live as a speaker, and this is possible. So that's not a question.
Yeah, and I
So-
agree, that's a great idea.
Now, the one
As
thing
long
that's
as it can be
interesting,
implemented.
the one thing that you brought up, Terry, that actually does kind of plague, I think somebody else mentioned, is related. What if they can't? What if they aren't audible? And that is a real thing. You know, they can't speak and they want to participate. A written statement should be allowed. You know,
Right, but my issue is, should it be read or should it just be entered into the record?
I like the red, and I think there has to be some kind of way to. Nobody's sitting up here for 1,000 hours. So once you exceed an hour and a half, you gotta shut it down, and you let that be known up front. So that means the first people who really interested. Yeah, so
I think Jim has pretty legitimate concerns. Like, we don't want this to run on forever. At the same time, I think that's also potentially a worst case scenario. Like Terry said, it doesn't happen very often. There has to be a reason that 1,000 people wrote it at the same time. I don't think somebody in Dallas is just going to be bored and trying to stack the deck in Pflugerville. So if there's 1,000 messages for one meeting, there's probably something else going on that maybe those do need to be written into the record because 1,000 people care about some specific issue that's on there. And now you have there's probably 1,000 people in this room at the same time if that's happening. So that's almost like an outlier situation that we maybe need to be aware of, but maybe not write policy towards. I'm okay with, going this conversation a minute ago, I'm okay with scratching the video comments out in favor of the live one there, section C, because, why pre-record something when you just go on live like you were here? But I think there is definitely a component of, if somebody's disabled, they need to be able to write in. They can't do a video message for whatever reason.
My understanding is there is an accommodation process. Like, accommodations can be requested. So I do want to say that is
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is an accommodation. So you can go to everyone in here that has a disability in our city and say, hey, if you want an accommodation to get your voice heard, that is available.
I've seen
Already,
speakers get
so,
5, 6,
we talked
7, 8
about that
minutes
too.
because they
But
can't.
granted, I'm all about universal approach, so I do like it that more citizens don't have to write in for an accommodation because it's a process, and if we can alleviate that, then I'm fine. I just don't, once again, my point was the read aloud part. If it's in record for something that was pre-recorded or written in advance, I think it should be an open record and not read aloud. That was my
So let's see if we can narrow the focus of the conversation. We've got written comments, video comments, and remote participation. That's compliant. I've heard suggestions that written and remote are sufficient and that we get rid of video. So I'm going to ask for a motion on striking 1105B.
Let's do written, then do it again.
Well, that's why I'm narrowing the focus. So 1105B, everyone seems to be okay with getting rid of, so I just want to take it off the
No.
table.
No.
Getting rid of what?
No.
I think it's
Pre-recorded
the
part.
pre-recorded part, so it's a modification. So the goal was to do
There's A,
live.
B, and C, right?
Exactly. Well,
So it would be a modification of B, not removal. So
Well,
so
C is
C is
remote.
live.
Yeah, C is remote.
remote
Another
video.
thing- yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay,
A is written.
You're right. So I guess it would be.
A is written, B is video presented,
My
and
apologies, yeah.
C is live video.
Yeah, and my only concern with the giving access with the recorded video is the people who don't have internet or stable internet. I know some my house, it goes out and it's like, if I could actually be here live, I might not actually be here live. So,
But then you can
and
still
that's-
write.
yeah.
You're still right in for the conversation.
I'm just, okay.
Yeah, I think the pre-recorded
It was
video.
just- it was just something I wanted to bring up.
We're over here, sir.
I'm just pointing out, it says by live telephone or internet based. So
Okay.
it's
Yeah,
not, I don't
that's good.
think that's a problem.
Thank you for pointing that out.
Yep.
So I move that we strike B.
Yes.
I'm hearing something completely different here, and I may be out of
I've got a motion and a second. We got a discussion on that, though. You can go, Jolly.
I'm kind of hearing something different here, is that it's not the way the message is being brought. In other words, if you come to city council, of course, you can have public comment. You stand up and have your public comment. And what I'm hearing here around the table is the other methods where the message comes to city council is not really heard or written in the record. And I believe that's the challenge. In
The
other words,
email
if I
version.
write something in, we don't know if it's heard or not, opposed to me coming to a meeting and making public comment. That's what I'm kind of hearing right here, and we kind of haven't decided on how we're gonna get
All right.
those messages written in, or video, or whatsoever. How do they actually go in the record?
Good.
I'm kind of.
Good discussion item, not pertinent to the motion. We'll come back to it, though. So I've got a motion and a second to remove
Pre-recorded.
1105B. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. See, now it's a smaller problem.
So now the conversation
Jolly,
is to read.
your comment is now germane, because we're back on 1105A, and you've articulately suggested that the larger problem is someone writing an email, and trust me, I read all of Terry's emails when I had a chance, but I didn't respond, because sometimes I didn't have a favorable response, but they were read. And so is there a way to make sure that folks that write in emails
Video, whatever.
can at least understand that it's been read or heard? I don't know, there's a difference between when you, even if you're out here in the audience and you're talking to council, there's a difference between them hearing you and being heard, right? Because yeah. So I don't know if we can solve that issue itself.
Either. Because if you come to city council and you get to speak, that don't mean you get to go back and forth. You get to
No.
speak, say what you got to say,
Right.
and you sit down. So with that respect, you're not getting a response, hey, I received your message.
Right.
So vice versa, me writing in a message, that's pretty much the same. So I don't know. It's just something to really think about.
And by a positive response, are we really implicitly saying we want agreement, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Wait, I'm sorry. I pointed at you, but I thought I saw a hand over here.
No, I don't know. Mine just went up.
No,
I
that
said
was
mine just went up.
last.
They were first.
Okay, we'll go to Craig, and then we'll come back.
So, one other thing is I could also see people writing in and then also coming in. If they're coming in, then they kind of get two public comments, so that might be something we need to be aware of. Well, I mean, it's
No
just
double dipping on the comments.
double dipping kind of thing. Just not that it's a huge thing. I just wanted to bring that up.
I mean, I don't tend to names. I can send you thousands of comments just from my own made-up email addresses. So what's to prevent me from sending in multiple ones? What determines the
I have to go through the
uniqueness?
process of sending it from 1,000. I'd have to go through the process.
They have
but
ChatGPT
still.
for that
No
now,
problem.
though.
Anyway,
But you can do
Anyway,
it.
come back to Carol, no, Sam now, then Carol.
So I was just going off a little bit what Jolly said. I think there's another aspect to this beyond just making sure city council hears it, in that, like, I can just send a city council member an email and have a conversation with them, or, maybe they don't respond. That may not be that big a deal to me, other than the fact that, I send them an email, I know they heard it. But when I'm giving a public comment, I'm sort of seeing it as, I want the general public, whoever the audience of the room is, or the people looking at the minutes online, have seen that this point was brought up publicly to city council. We know they've heard this. There's other witnesses to the fact that they've heard this information. So if something happens down the road and they say, well, I wasn't aware of that, you can go back and say, well, no, look, it was brought up to you. Whether or not they remembered it or not, that's on them. But I see that as kind of a bigger issue than just getting a hold of a city council member.
That's also putting in a public record,
Yeah.
because then they can review it after or during their own time or their.
But that's them, but I'm
diligence.
talking about, like, the general public is as aware as possible that that statement was made to
All right,
city
come back
council.
to Terry now.
Just in reference to you making 1,000 emails and stuff. Used to, I don't know if they still require it. Of course, when I'm talking from the city council, most of them immediately know me, put their plugs in. But when you usually, when you sign up and you speak, you have to say your name and you put your address as a resident. And that would be a requirement also, that would be part of the
But who's
email
reviewing
thing.
it?
that you- No, in your email, you could write your name, sign it, and put your address here in Pflugerville to show that you're a citizen of Pflugerville. And that would be able to keep you from going out.
Yeah,
much.
Greg's shaking his head too. You can't restrict it to only residents of Pflugerville.
I don't believe you can,
Well,
you can't
it-
even require them to say a name or address, that's not required.
Well, they do,
Yes,
they
it
do
can be.
ask, you have to say your name,
You can, it can
not have
be.
to say your address.
Does it have to be
They
your legal
ask,
name?
but they can't require it. It is,
Yes, you can.
it's, yeah, it's your,
We can.
Well, we're restricting the entire premise as it is right now, so we're not even allowed written records. So does that change the rules on, like, because we still have the open meetings, they can come in and speak. So is this a separate thing now where we can limit who can put in a written notice?
Nah, we want to be. I think it's important for us to have a guardrail in, so they don't have this. Like, you could, if you gonna push 1,000 emails, we want you to have to work. I mean, you need to give us 1,000 addresses, 1,000 fake names, 1,000 emails, because that would deter people from
Open cloud.
abusing it.
Well, that's what I'm asking, is like, is this still falling under the same requirements as the Open Meetings Act, or can we now, because we can restrict the entire premise
What's your email
completely,
address, Greg?
can we now restrict, like, we
Gregory
allow it, but
L.
restrict it to certain things?
Jim, Donald.
All right, we're coming to Carol.
So we're talking about people just sending emails in, which to me, having worked in an office of an elected official, is just loosey-goosey.
Yeah.
I have no idea who's at the other end of that email, no matter what the name says. It's, because you have how many made-up emails? But do we have, at this point, a repository for written statements? And you brought up the state. The state has a specific place that you go and you fill out an online form, you put in whatever the required information is, and then it's all in there. And they have a way where they can check whether you're a legitimate person or not. They're not asking by email, they're asking for name and address. So does the city have something like that now?
We don't, but we have to. I think we have to implement it.
This, I mean, we can already write letters to the city council by just
Yes.
filling out the form, it's already done. It's so the technology is easy just to make a form specifically for
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
And in doing that, that'll also make our timestamps so it's all specifically in one location. And so, yeah, but that's a technology aspect of it. I can see having it as a website.
Yeah, so it's not to be.
As-
It
as
should
I'm
be.
looking at
Please,
this
not
too.
everyone don't speak up at once. We're gonna
Yeah.
raise our hands.
So
We're gonna
as
come
I'm
back to Carol
looking at
then, Jay.
this, that could be a policy recommendation to council, because it already says received in accordance with procedures established by the city. So we could recommend to the city that they establish a form for that type of written comment.
Jamie?
Just to get clarification on the state form that you were talking about, do they read that out at meetings, or is it
No,
just
it
accepted as
is
a
the written
record?
thing, and so if you go to the state and you sign up and you realize that you're gonna have to stay till 3:00 in the morning, you can run back out into the hall and you can just type in your comments. And then it becomes part of the written record, and it's very easily accessed for anybody who wants to see the written record.
And by the way, even though
Okay,
we're
wait,
saying
wait,
email,
Greg, you gotta get in line, sir. Sam?
I think we're somewhat in agreement, I mean, we disagree on whether or not to allow written records, I think, but I think we're somewhat in agreement that there should be some limits on it if we can. It shouldn't just be anybody can email 1,000 things in and no verification. I think we could probably, and I don't want to speak for everybody, but we could probably agree that, we want to make sure there's some requirements to make sure that we're not getting a bunch of spam or people are just abusing the system. But at the same time, if we're going to do this, we would want to make sure that anybody who legitimately has something to contribute is able to do so. But just to kind of format the statement a little bit more here.
Yeah, again, and I just read this whole thing about Anthropic's Mythos, which is a bug detecting system. And so they gave it a week and it discovered like 3,000 heretofore unknown zero-day exploits of software that's already out there, including BSD, which is one of the most stable operating systems that the military uses. The problem with finding that bug, once it gets out, finding the bug is now faster. You can find the bugs faster than you can patch them. Because even if you write a code fix for it the same day, to get that push out and approved
Deploy it.
takes weeks. If it's the government, maybe months. And so those systems can already be exploited. And what I see with, especially with this 3 hour before the meeting, I see that as our technology gap, right? We're gonna have emails, video, well, we struck videos. We're gonna have emails submitted 3 hours before the meeting and expect those to be fully vetted. And so what's the policy if a bunch of people are very upset about Kelly Lane or whatever, and there's an email, everyone's like, hey, if you can't make it, send in an email, and it goes to all the HOAs and all the moms groups and dads groups, and everybody sends this in, then you're gonna get this huge gap that you can't even prove, much less read within the
Or just
confines of the council
decide
meeting.
they want
I
it.
understand using it because of people that can't make it. I understand that. But the way this is put forward here, I think it opens us up for all sorts of abuse, and I can't imagine staff trying to get everyone on hand and paying overtime from Parks and Recs and streets to read emails so we get them all approved and vetted before a council meeting. I really like the idea of remote participation. I think that solves all of the issues. I'm sorry, I talked too long. I want to come back to whose turn is it? We'll go Terry. We'll go clockwise again.
Okay, I'm in full agreement with the remote. Okay. I am. I love that idea if it's possible. Okay. My worry is that the city does not won't have the ability to implement that and get in place. So if they can, I'm on board with that 100%. And that solves everything.
To answer that question, that when the new, I think the new building's supposed to be done by the end of the year, this would go up, and if approved would be after November. I think things typically don't go in effect immediately, and so it could be affected as soon as the new chambers are set up.
But I would also like to point out, as far as the RIP this has been in place before for several years.
So again,
and it was never abused like what you were talking about.
Well,
ever.
Okay, so the difference there is, yes, I've watched Mayor Victor Gonzalez read emails many times, and there may have been some that he didn't read, right? We don't know, right? We just know the ones he did read.
Oh, that's true.
And if it got too long, he would cut it off, or he would jump and summarize just to the places that were pertinent. This changes that. This says there's no discrimination in terms of what can or cannot be read.
Well, there was a time where the city secretary read, and she read really fast. And like I said, that's where I went. I timed them, and literally the average. There were meetings where nobody wrote in. There were meetings where 7 people wrote in. There were never meetings where thousands wrote in. There were no meetings that anybody did that. And when you averaged all those out, it came to a total of about 3 minutes and 3.5 minutes average over all those meetings, total for all the emails to be read in. And so it was never abused like what people are saying it's going to happen. It just did not happen.
We understand that it's never been abused. I'm going to come over to Carol now.
I just want to kind of throw out an opinion. It's not a change here. I just heard several times people trying to abridge First Amendment rights by saying things like, well, we have to determine whether that's a legitimate person to speak or not. And I totally oppose anything that would do that. And I don't care if it's a citizen coming in from, East Japip, Alaska to talk to our council. They have as much a right as anybody else to say something. So I just am putting that out there.
Then we'll come to Sam, then Greg.
I'll go off of Carol's point. I actually agree with that. I think when I was saying check on who's putting in, I think talking more along the lines of, is it a bot attack? Is it duplicates? Is somebody putting in multiple things? But I think we can alleviate a lot of the concerns you're talking about, AI components and the ability to hack bugs that also works in reverse. You can use that in our favor in that I think Carol's right. We can have a form, so you can't just quickly email it in. You have to actually go through the effort of filling out a form, have a bot check on it to make sure that it's not, an AI computer or something, which, yeah, you can get around it if you really wanted to, but who's really hacking the Pflugerville City Council? Like, who's going to go through that effort? And then you could also have a back-end check as well, where you're making sure that this is not to go off and say something's not legitimate, but like if something is obviously AI generated, or if it's like just profanities or something like that, you could have a check that will at least pull those out for somebody to look at, so you don't have to have somebody manually going through every single one of them 2 minutes before the meeting to make sure they're all okay to read publicly. You can have an AI look at that and say, okay, these 5 we have some concerns about, have a human look at this and make sure these are okay, and then all the rest of these are just normal comments, just run them through the
So
system.
we agree that there are solutions.
There are some issues,
but
sure, yes.
But we won't articulate those in this document. The thing that, I think the major point of contention isn't to allow written comments, or whether they're electronically submitted or written with indelible pencil.
Not allowed.
Not allowed.
Indelible
On
keyboard.
eBay.
Put a forever stamp on it. However they're received in written form, and email is often now considered what's written. I don't think anybody's against that. If anyone is against that, raise your hand. Okay, good. The issue du jour, and when I first made this comment, I said it was alarmist, right? I said that the people submitting thousands was alarmist. And I accept that, right? It's still there, and the problem is putting it in the charter makes it that way for 5 years. And so if we mess up now and the voters approve it thinking that we knew what was going to happen and it's out there, then that's the danger. We can't cure it. And as opposed to a policy, like the mayor reading emails or the city secretary reading emails, if that were abused and the email was too long, they could cut it off, right? Or if they got too many, or if they didn't get any in it, or they weren't germane to anything that was happening, they had that filter to decide what to do with it. Putting it in here locks it in, which I know some of us want. We want it codified, and I'm not against that. I think having and allowing for written comments is a great idea. I just think that instead of being read into the record, they need to be published into the record, which if they're emailed in, they can read it on a website because they got access to email, whether it's on their phone or on their laptop or whatever. I just don't think that we should open Pandora's box and have these read in the meeting.
So you ready?
But I'm going to come over to Jolly because he's taking a breath.
I agree with it should be read, but should be acknowledged.
Right.
Somehow.
Like, we've received all
I
today's,
disagree.
like, acknowledgement of receipt of written.
We've received
Statements.
237 comments today. Please go to our website where you can see the full public record.
Would that go in the agenda for the city council members too? Would that go into the agenda for the city council members?
Oh, like they would have to
Or their
read the
packet.
record of how many submissions they received
That's,
for that
I
meeting.
threw that out there. That's just a policy thing.
I can get on that.
But I think that if we write this correctly, we can say that any written correspondence would be entered into the public record, and an announcement would be made about how many comments were received on each agenda item. We can put that in here, and I think that's still broad enough where there's some flexibility in that system, but it's specific enough in terms of making sure that those are counted and acknowledged, without going into the detail of reading them out or who's the names or verifying addresses or any of that stuff that we don't get in trouble with. Come to
All
Greg.
right. So one thing I'm gonna challenge you real quick as the vice chair. You're basically rebutting commentary. I get it. We deem you as somebody knowledgeable, but equally you're getting bigger stage time than us to rebut. Number two, going to what I experienced yesterday. First of all, I got tickets to Barack's opening. Yay. There's a technology that allows you to virtually get in line right now, and we could potentially apply that to our virtual queue as well. So basically, you get in line,
Are you talking
And,
for live?
and this is live.
This is for live. Okay.
This
So
is
you're going
live.
live. Okay.
This is live, and you literally say, "Hey, you in the queue? You're next." You know what I mean? Or you got 7 minutes to wait, 10 minutes to wait. You know, based on whatever criteria we put in there. And so that makes it so if it comes down to that video chat type scenario, we will have the ability to put a time, total time maybe. And that is one thing. By going to the written comment, 350 or whatever that maximum word we can put specifically in the form. And so once it exceeds that, everything else is not allowed. And then on top of that, you still have the recapture to make sure it's not a robot. You also have the checkbox to make sure it's not a robot. So these are old school technology that already exists. So I just don't want us to create a policy with the fear that the abuse is going to overwhelm the intent.
One, thank you for pointing that out. You're absolutely right about me. I'll be more self-aware. And two, we'll move to Jamie.
He was before me.
We'll move to Sam.
I think I could be convinced to move past the read out loud part, but I think my concern, I think, is that if we're going to do it not read out loud, I would prefer to see it in the packets for the council members, either that meeting or the following meeting, and then also in any sort of minutes for the meeting and any sort of like official documents, and not just kind of stashed somewhere online. Where, okay, yeah, you submit it written, and it goes into all the, the documents that get handed out, or the minutes that are posted online, or any official location, rather than just having a separate depository where it's like, go read the public comment on all the meetings.
Trista, when are the packets printed for council?
So could it be in the packets, because the packets are produced when the agenda is posted?
Right.
So the next meeting, I think, is fine, but like, just as long as they're published, they're given to city council members and also published as part of the official part of that meeting. So in this case, probably the minutes after the fact.
How does that cure, if you send an email to a council member and it doesn't bounce, you know they sent it, you sent it, the concern was, you don't know if they've read it.
We don't care.
Well, if it's included in a packet, you know they've received it, again, just like the email, but you have no idea whether or not they've read it.
It's, yeah, obviously they could, again,
I don't know if
so they
it's curing
could,
anything.
they
in
could
that
plug their
regard.
ears when we're talking too.
Yeah.
Like if they really don't want to read something or don't want to see something, they can avoid it, but.
Well, and to your earlier point, I think you said, and this isn't me engaging in rebuttal, it's clarifying. Roll your eyes at me. You said that sometimes people speak so that the larger audience hears it. By publishing it online, your larger audience has access to it.
No, I'm in favor of that. I'm saying I don't want to only do that. Like if it's part of the meeting, it should be in the meeting minutes. It should be, anywhere anybody who's looking about the meeting is going to see, oh, this happened in this meeting. So I mean, I'm okay with just the minutes, but it needs to be part of like the official connection to that meeting and not just a separate repository somewhere.
Maybe instead of including in next packet, they're included in the minutes of the next
That's
meeting.
fine. I think that's
right?
fine. Yeah.
Because then they're published. They're part of, because the minutes are published online, and they could be the addendum on the minutes, and then they're published in all their glory.
And to Greg's point, for the live stuff, I mean, that software already exists where you can do that. I mean, you can probably find 5 of them in about 5 minutes. That software exists.
And so Trish don't have to read even the comments. AI exists that it'll read the comments for us really, really cleanly. That exists.
It's just the lobby music while we wait. It's reading the comments.
So when did we say the agenda was published?
This shouldn't be in there.
3 business days before the council
I'm
meeting.
sorry.
3 business days before the council meeting.
So we could also say that within 24 hours after the agenda was published, that the comments would have to be in, and therefore they could be included in the packets. So you
All
got
preparation's done 3 days before.
I don't agree with having these put into the packets because our on-site commentary won't be included in the packet. It's on the website. Go visit.
Yeah.
Well, if you
I want it read though.
3 days before you have the agenda, that gives everybody time to go to the website, see what the agenda is, and know what to comment on.
Right,
okay?
but the packet's already printed.
Okay, but I know the packet's already printed.
Don't print it.
Right, I'm talking about after the packet's printed, you got the agenda, you got 24 hours after that, people can email their comments in. At that time, all you do is cut, paste into a document the comments, and you have a separate document, and that goes before the meeting, goes to the, you got 2 days there to cut and paste and get it to the council to add to the agenda packet at that point. And at that point, they have that during the meeting. All the council people have all the comments during the meeting. At that point, if a council person, any of the council people have that and they want to comment on any of the comments that are there and they want to read it, they can. Because y'all can read it as council people, they can read anything they want to, right? And so, say Doug Weiss is up there and he has a list of people and he says, I've read through these and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are in favor of this. And here's what this person said, here's what this person said. Give examples. At that point, at least they're available to be read into the record. I'd much rather all of them actually be read. I didn't see any abuse of that. I'm trying to find some common ground. Okay. Where, and then I know when you go to the website, you got the videos of each council meeting, you got the agendas listed on the deal. You can have a third tab there, comments that you click on, and it just brings up the documents that where you cut and paste all the comments in there.
Yeah, okay.
They're listed there.
Yes, we all understand how that process works. Greg, did you have something else, or?
No, I was
Okay, I was coming back to Urchin.
Oh, no, I like the idea of the written comments. I personally come to council during citizen communication. But if I write to council, I want to know that whatever I is a part of the record. I like the idea about citizens communication tab. That would be great, as long as those comments are out there. And I, Joe Citizen or Ursha Crespo, can go look and say, yes, they got my comments. I think that's good. I've never done. There was a time when you had to do them, and I think it was like 3 hours before council, and I missed that deadline. Say, got to go to council because I missed the cutoff. But I think every citizen should know that their email has been received somehow, not necessarily read, but that is out there.
Yeah, and I like Greg's idea of having a form, but that means I have to know where this magic link is to go to the
That's right.
website to fill in that form,
That's right.
as opposed to just sending an email to a published email address of comments at PflugervilleCityTX.gov, right?
And that's where what Carol was talking about, the way the state does it. I really like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's kind of a simple answer there. You can send an email there, have a bounce back email, say, hey, here's the link, get this link here, submit your question
Did I
here.
tell you I love this guy?
That's how you fix that.
And if it's about sending the email, they're not gonna be able, they're just not gonna be able to catch that, so,
Problem
Look at
is, you
this.
should be able to go online and see your comment or
Yeah.
hear it.
yes, I agree.
Okay. So
No,
that
we
you
were
know
talking
that,
about-
so
we're
that
talking
you know
about
that email didn't go
Right.
into the trash bucket.
Right,
Yeah,
and that's
no, we were
exactly
talking
what
about
Jolly just said. So with the process Jolly articulated is you email in, you get an email back says, thank you for blah, blah, blah. Here's the link to go make your comment.
There you go.
You click that magic link, you don't have to know what it is ahead of time. And it may be a different link for every council meeting, maybe a different link for every item, whatever. You click that link, takes you to the form, you put in all the required information, including your comments, post it, and then that goes to the published online, whether it's included in the minutes or it's included as a separate addendum to the, whatever the little legislative calendar thing where all the council videos are. It's right there, and you can see that, yes, your stuff was accepted.
Yeah.
Yeah. That can be roboted after that point, you know, hey, you get this email, we want this to happen. That doesn't necessarily have to be a person.
Right.
That can be formatted.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's a solution to like how it could happen, right? That could change 3 years from now. There could be a different solution.
Right.
How it could happen.
Yeah,
So to go into the charter though, how do we want to reword this And then the solution of the how, that's gonna have to get done by the city
Right.
manager's office, like how
Hopefully-
they're gonna collect them.
Hopefully they'll watch the, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, like, how do we wanna reword this? Like, we talked about taking out the read aloud part and saying it's published, like, into public record, which would be really, the slick, put it in a form and it automatically populates a list, like,
Just
it's a
form, just
Microsoft
remove
form, it populates a spreadsheet, right? Like, you could easily, that's public record then if it's published out there. But how do we wanna reword this? We can kind of refocus in on just rewording the content here and then the solution happens.
Yeah, and staff probably has 5 solutions that are much more better and efficient than the ones we articulate. Because
Well,
they're
the
very, very smart.
Well, the first sentence,
But wait, Terry.
I just wanna go back to the point you made about like reading how many were accepted, like in the minutes. Can we include that in the charter, like where we say it will be submitted to public record and then like what verified in minutes on how many were received? I don't think it needs to break it down by itemized, what they're saying, but at least it's showing that there is someone reviewing the public record that has been received after the meeting and then is of record in that next.
Number of comments per agenda.
Right.
So I heard, Sam,
I would propose that we leave how they get the information up to the council, but in the charter we put written records have to be accepted. They have to go in their entirety in the minutes. They can be an addendum or whatever, but it's in the minutes document after the fact. And they get sent to city council members in whatever format, but they receive those somehow personally.
and have to be
Yeah.
posted.
I agree with that.
yeah, I'm liking all this. I like it published in the minutes. That gives staff 2 weeks or 3 weeks to get it into the next meeting's minutes. And then if someone in council wants to read it, the only issue I have with that, and I'm gonna hit myself for saying this, the only issue I have with that is it's not topical if I'm sending an email about this council meeting.
No, minutes, not the agenda. So the follow-up, like this is what was accomplished. Like right now, we did the minutes for that meeting.
Yeah,
So
That
when
would
it
have
gets
the
published on
public-
the website, when you're looking at what happened that meeting, it's the previous meeting, and you'll see the comments about that previous meeting.
that's my issue. If someone emailed before
It's a
this,
link.
3 days before this meeting, comments, I wouldn't see them to know, to talk about them today. They would be in the minutes from that.
But the
minutes of
city
this
council
meeting.
members would have gotten them right away, so
Well,
they have them. but yeah.
we didn't say that though. We said that they would be published in the meeting minutes.
And they
Meeting
go to,
minutes are after the meeting.
but I said they go to they get published in the minutes in entirety, and the city council members get them immediately, like a direct
just
message
agree.
somehow.
Is there a way to do like an addendum to the packet that gets done 3 business days ahead of time?
Or they get printed and just put them on the desk or something.
Well, that's where my comment about,
Yeah.
that's where my comment about when an agenda's being published, the public knows what the agenda is, then you have 24 hours to write in. That gives them enough time to make it pertinent to the upcoming meeting. Because at that point, they have 2 days to get those comments copied and pasted into a document for the council to have at the meeting.
Mike, is that legal to add an addendum to a published?
Well, we wouldn't add an addendum, it would just be back.
Okay.
Yeah, part of the packet type bill.
Okay. I like it.
Yeah, 2 things. One, I want to go on record saying any comment is equal, whether you're in person, whether you're live online, or whether it's written. I personally believe that everything should be heard at the time of the meeting. One, that's the first thing. So, and then the second thing is there's no need to print these comments. We're not printing the words and the videos. We're not creating DVDs. Just put a link to where the council member, where any citizen can go and get the entire list. These are the locations of the comments, who made them, blah, 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 blah. It's public record. Everybody that does this should understand that there's a public situation going on. So that's just my comment. But once again, that's a systematic thing that makes it so we need not print that, because it could be even if it's 20. I mean, that's not a lot.
We don't need to kill any more
But you don't
trees.
need to print that and then put an agenda. Just put a link to where they can find it. Even when they're sitting up there, all of them have some version of a PC tablet or whatever the case may be. They can still click on that and then go to where those comments are.
I think we're just saying print it because they're not being read aloud and they're not getting the live feed.
I actually do want them. I do want them.
I would prefer they read aloud, but I'm saying like we're printing them and putting them out because they're not being read. If they had been read, then we don't need to do that.
Yeah, a link to them.
But then that's just asking them to bother to care to go check.
So be it.
Well, council already gets a packet.
Right.
And sometimes it's 1,000 pages. 2 more pages, 3, 4 more pages of comments isn't gonna make a difference when they're being added to the packet. And I'm not saying it print it for everybody that's out in the audience. I'm saying print 7 copies, maybe 8 copies, one for the city manager to have in their packets. It's not a whole lot of print. And that way they have a physical copy, part of their packet that they get, where they're reading through all the packets, studying up on the packet, and they come to the page where they got the comments. They can read part of that packet rather than have to put down the packet, go search on the internet to see what the comments were. It's just part of the packet. And so it doesn't make any sense not to put that part of the packet.
I feel like we've been talking about this for an hour now.
Yep.
Are we getting closer to alignment here?
I think we are. I've got notes.
Okay.
We want them to be published, not read. The discussion right now is whether or not we want to make them available to council before the meeting. And I think we do, because otherwise they've lost their teeth.
Okay.
And I think if we're generic and say make available to council, we'll let staff figure it out, right? Made available before the meeting.
Okay. They can figure out what that means. I like it. Nice open.
Right. And the email part, again.
Yeah. Claude suggested.
I'm sorry, we got a conversation here. You guys got something to share?
I was just asking, like, I keep hearing the 24 hours after that, but I'm still, don't know if we had decided even if 3 hours before. I don't know.
We'll come back to
Yeah,
that.
but we'll come back to it.
Public comment word limited, like limits wording.
So if you, well, again, I think we'll leave public comment in person, it's 3 minutes. I think staff will do something similar to Jolly's idea where if you email your comments in, you get an email back saying fill out this form, and that form can be limited to 350 or 500 or whatever words, and one attachment, right? You could send an image. That form would be the limitation.
That's fine.
Right.
But we're not writing that in the charter.
We're not writing that in the charter. We're just
my clarifier.
So far, we're just saying that they need to be published with the meeting minutes, and they need to be made available to council before the meeting, right? Now,
I agree.
wait, okay, so we got 2.
The link. When they send that.
We're not gonna articulate that, we'll let staff figure
Okay,
that
but
out.
we're gonna
We'll
suggest
recommend.
that as a policy that,
We
just
can
like
make
they
that
put
a
a link to all
recommendation.
the attachments to
Right.
the
Yeah, 'cause
council
it's
item,
on the
they can put a
website.
link to it.
Yeah, it should be a recommendation so that they
Yeah.
can follow
It
it.
should be a public on the website, information on
I think some
from
kind
auto
of time
response.
period needs to be.
We're coming back to that one.
Before
Let me make this note,
Maybe
recommendation for, email form.
And I think the verbiage as it relates to the wording should be something to say a fair 3-minute read.
I think that's where the number came from.
Yeah, 350 maybe. So we
350,
did
500.
okay, whatever that thing is, because it versus just saying specifically 350, but whatever a fair
I'm just
assessment
thinking
is
of like
what
the
it is.
person who like can do cattle calls or whatever and they speak like 5 seconds a minute.
No, we're not doing
or
that.
whatever.
You know,
Yeah,
They're
if
the
I,
outliers.
if I,
I know they're not here, but
We're
I'm
not
going.
really- we're not doing that.
if I
We're
try to
doing
upload
AI.
a map or an image, a PDF
just
document to TABC to get a permit, it says your image is too big.
Right.
And I'm like, I got it straight from
Yeah.
Google Maps.
Yeah, this one, as soon as you exceed, it stops. It
Yeah.
doesn't allow you to do anything else.
All right, so now the window in which you can present comments before the meeting, what, 24 hours before the meeting?
24.
48.
I think
24.
I think to make it logistically sensible, the agenda's published, within 24 hours after the agenda's published, you need to send your comment in, so those comments can be made available to the city council members. Not
So you're
five-
saying
not-
you're saying 48 hours before the meeting?
I'm saying 48, he's saying 24.
I'm saying
Because it's
24.
already-
No, you're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
He's saying 24 hours after the packet's published, which is 72 hours before the meeting, and you're,
If they're both wrong,
no,
it's
I'm sorry,
business days.
days.
We post 3 business days.
Business days, that's why.
which is, right, which includes Saturday and Sunday.
So no, business days.
Business
I posted the
days.
agenda yesterday for Tuesday.
But we have to allow time enough for the council.
So it just needs to be.
That'd be before
Okay.
the 3 business.
Yeah.
So
And
Monday,
if it moves to a different.
Monday
like
at 6.
Then they need the time to be here to be
So
able to work
3
on it.
business days, so we want,
the
Well,
start
Tristan, how
time
long would
shouldn't
it
be the
take you
issue.
to put this together?
The start time shouldn't be the issue. The deadline
Yeah.
should be the conversation.
yeah.
Does that make sense?
Next week.
What I don't want to see is the council get it 2 minutes before the meeting, not have time to
Well,
review
and,
it.
and that's where if you come up and you don't want to speak, you can write your comments down, and the mayor would read what your comment is. Your written comment, the mayor would read that. But that's because you just didn't want to speak out loud, you're shy or whatever, right?
That's already done?
But that's already done.
No, he does not read.
He doesn't read them?
Yeah, we shouldn't even allow that.
He
Anyway,
reads whether
they don't
you're
do
for
that
or
anymore.
against.
I think the start time shouldn't matter. It's just the deadline.
Yeah.
Because as soon as I leave the meeting after Tuesday, I might have a comment that I want read at the next meeting.
So if the agenda's published 3 business days before the meeting, then maybe we say comments must be received 2 business days before the meeting.
Yeah, as long as it's
Would that
in
would that
proximity
give
to
them time
the meeting.
Collate all the comments and get them to the city council people?
Yeah, whatever.
And have the city council time enough to read them?
We hope so.
I mean, that's kind of the
I mean,
minimum
that's
we
2
can.
business days. We can't go 3 business days, because then it's the same time the agenda's released, you have to have your comments in.
I just say 6 o'clock on 7 o'clock on Monday.
But the problem with that is a special meeting isn't always on a Tuesday, right?
Oh,
And
that's
and
fair.
so if we go in lines with when the agenda's published, which is state law, is 3 business days before the meeting. I think if we go with Terry, 24 hours after that would be 2 business days before the meeting.
That's well ahead of Corpus Christi, whose cutoff is at 10:30 a.m. And then McKinney and Seabrook use noon the day before.
Nice.
How do they distribute it?
Noon the day.
So
before.
24 before is
Before
fine.
the cutoff,
Yeah.
go to the council before the vote. and
24 hours before is
comments
fine.
After the cutoff, go to the council after, but aren't included in the minutes.
So I'm hearing 1 business day.
24 hours.
So that'd be 5 o'clock for the meeting, or 7 o'clock the day before.
So I'm trying to figure out the one business day. If she posted the agenda for next week yesterday, does that mean that my written comments have to be in today?
If we're saying 2 business days prior to the meeting, I would have to receive it by the time I walk in the door tomorrow.
God, that's not.
So I think 1 day before is plenty. I think that's fine.
Let's go with McKinney.
As long as staff can handle that.
It's better than not
sorry,
having any
what?
voice at all.
As long as staff can handle the printing, I disagree with printing it because I just
Right.
want it to be an automatic system. It's done, call it a day. You can go to the list every day. You can read them tomorrow. You can read them later on tonight. So the staff don't have to do it. Just make it automated.
And that may be, because we're not gonna say it has to be printed, we're saying it has to be made available to council prior to the meeting,
Prior to the meeting.
right? And we're just saying made available, whether that's printed, or whether it's, hey, this link, they got those little iPads that they vote on, maybe it's on that, right?
As long as it's done.
Whatever.
Make the deadline.
We'll let staff figure that out.
Just as long as the deadline is.
That's what we're talking about, the deadline.
And the one slight adjustment to it, instead of 24:48, at least the same start, the meeting start time, the previous business day.
Right, we're
That
saying
way,
one-
if we happen to have a
They
meeting
did
on Monday,
noon
or
another
there's a
way.
holiday before, whatever it is, there's a holiday on Monday, then that
It's not a
technically-
business day.
That's not a business day, so that gives that extra.
It was by noon the day before the meeting.
By
So,
noon, the
There's a
day before the
requirement,
meeting. That
like,
gives,
so one of the things you can do, if you're worried about like spam, is just set up a caption, however it is, right, that's pretty easy.
Yeah.
And then like a listing of the person and where they're from. So there's no limit, there's no restriction that people have to give a meeting location.
right, but again, that could all be controlled through the form that's submitted.
We
right?
could fully
So
fund.
what I'm hearing is that we've got precedence for using noon, the business day before the meeting.
We could just specify that the council can figure it out, but it has to be received before the meeting, and it has to have a deadline after the agenda is published, so they can figure out when the specifics are, but, yeah.
Ideal time.
The deadline is after the agenda is published with enough time to read the agenda, and
They set the
it gets
policy on it.
given to city council specific time beforehand, but they can figure out what those actual times are.
That's what they did before. They gave you a time.
And then the next charter can say if it worked or not. So they have 5 years to play.
'Cause
with
we've-
the time.
we've-
Now we're trusting council again.
But we've narrowed it down to the criteria of like, because our minimum requirement here, our minimum requirement is that they have to see the agenda first,
Yeah.
and then we want city council to get it before the meeting. So as long as we put those two criteria in,
Yeah.
they can figure out the details on what that involves.
All right, I'm gonna see,
Go ahead.
see if I can put this all together, because I think we're at a point of consensus with all the major ideas here. And so, so right now it says A, written comments. The city shall permit members of the public to submit written comments on any posted agenda item. We're good there. Written comments timely received in accordance with procedures established by the city shall be made part of the official record.
Good there.
We're good with that. The council may provide by rule for such comment. We're gonna scratch that sentence, the last sentence of that. And what we're gonna say is that written comments must be made available to council prior to the meeting. Period. Written comments shall also be appended to the meeting minutes and published, period.
Good.
Right?
Yes.
That covers everything we talked about, I think.
Did I get the agenda thing where it has to be after the agenda is published?
Yeah, we also need to comment that but the cutoff can't be before the agenda is published for written comments, right?
Of course it can't, but again, we're trusting council, we decided we're not gonna set a time frame
Not
there.
be ridiculous, okay, fine.
Right.
Oh, okay.
I'm fine.
And we're gonna give it 5 years.
Any posted agenda item means that they can't write something before it is posted.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna comment on until I see the agenda. Yeah. I mean, we could circle back and say we're gonna add a time frame to it, but I thought we said we weren't.
We're good.
No, let's keep going now.
We can suggest that they make a policy of it and to.
Or
They're gonna have to already,
Yeah.
because it's, if this passes, they're gonna have to make a policy.
Yeah.
We're good on it.
All right.
And then
Tristan,
all we
did you get all that?
Answer.
Mike, you question? You good? All right, all in favor of amending 1105A as I read up? Any more comments?
I do need a motion. Motion.
I move to approve what you said.
Yeah, so,
So
Second.
moved. Second.
Maybe.
All right, go ahead, Joe.
that's what I was looking for. Y'all are like anticipating my will. All right, all in favor say yes.
No,
Comment?
no.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Backtrack, who moved and who seconded?
I moved.
Tracy moved, Jamie seconded, and I was still stammering.
All in.
All right, I've got 7:49. We'll recess until 7:50, 8 o'clock. We'll recess till 8 o'clock.
Have we not gone,
11-minute break, baby.
have we not gone over C yet?
can tell you
about
good.
What? It was like a weird mix of Democrats. It was like
And then we had Jimmy Bond.
it still got funded by AI. Is what it was. Yeah.
And also, interestingly,
I don't know. It could be either side of any issue.
You know, my friend was saying she wished it was
But
fall
everyone's bringing
again.
up things
So I'm
now.
like, it's
Something.
close enough.
Just don't talk about it.
Trying to start their car, and I think so.
Jacket on now. Hell, it be cold in here much less. This outside.
Yeah. And then nobody said anything about it after it passed.
Stop it. Ready? Time is 8 p.m. sharp. We are back from recess.
good job.
No action was taken. Old joke. Anyway, we are now looking at 1105.c, remote participation. Comments from anyone? I will kick it off by saying, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah,
I agree.
And the way this is worded,
I like the
Second time
it
we
forces
agree.
them to do it, or can they say we don't do this?
I think it's well written.
Yeah, because this is shall instead of may.
Yeah, well, I think it's beautiful. All right.
Let's throw it up.
Anything else from 1105? Somebody mentioned 203 just before we recessed. Did you have any comments about 203?
This document says 203 on it, that's what I meant.
Yeah, but it's more about something for more of a 3C thing than adding, instead of, it's not amending.
What are we looking at?
So, the thing I printed, it's the Surveillance, AI, and Liberties Board, acronym of SAIL. So, when we added this, and actually I copied and pasted the amendment, City Council shall adopt protections governing collection, use, retention, and oversight of data, facial recognition, surveillance technologies, establish transparent.
Can you summarize without having to read the whole thing?
I wasn't gonna read the whole thing, I just wanted to read that one part of it. Anyway, so the end of it says ensuring this information is used locally for legitimate basis established by law, and part of trying to, I put 3 charts in here. Basically, the original recommendation on number 4 is talking about just what it does. If we actually made a board specifically for this, a board to help guide with the stuff for anything that's on the surveillance and AI, it would okay. Sorry, a long day. Having that is going to give basically council another set of eyes of being able to do something who's going to be able to focus, and we can have professionals in the industry, because not all of them are super tech people, and know what's current in technology. Having someone to help assist in the communication of what's out there. Right now, I saw a post. There was a post saying we only have so many cameras listed online, but then trying to find records of where they're at, and there's I think there were 90 cameras out for the Alps LPRs. The ALPRs license plate readers. There's 90 of them out there, but right now there's the website only lists 28 of them. So if we had a board to help help that transparency process of what we have, what we're using, and to give advice to the council and to police, and kind of help to be an extra transition point so that the residents also have a say. And the big point of having this is the fact that, technology changes a lot in 5 years. I mean, it's not going to be the same, and if we codifying anything specific, where it's, and we can't do that, we really can't. So, making sure that we have a board that'll help the council be nimble, help the police be nimble, because we want to support all of this. We want to be able to support them, to be able to have, because they're not all tech people either, they just know, hey, there's the latest, greatest. But I want to be able to I want to propose that they have a board specifically, a board specifically of residents to be able to help assist with all the AI and surveillance and.
Litmus test.
For that, yeah.
Litmus test. Do we have an appetite for creating an AI policy board?
Can I caveat this with, since we last talked about this?
I'm just trying to see where we're spinning our wheels. I see about 3 people that are saying yes and a bunch of people that are like, don't care. So I'm gonna give it a few minutes, but we don't wanna beat this into the ground if we don't have full
I saw
support.
Josh's hand go up. That's the hand I want to hear from.
Go ahead, Sam.
Well, I was going to say that since we last done, I know I brought this up a couple times as well. Since we last discussed this, Jonathan did a study on this and looked into it. We've got cameras that we didn't know about being run by the police department. We've got AI-enabled facial recognition cameras in parks. We have a bunch of these license plate readers that weren't reported. Like, there's a lot of stuff here that it's probably not malicious, but at the same time, we have a lot of technology that could be tracking our kids' faces, that could be sent to Flock, it could be sent to the government, it could be sent to anywhere. There's really no body or board that is focused, like dedicated to making sure that, we have some sort of rules on this and we're not just tracking everybody's face through town. And I think that's a very big concern for everybody, that we have some sort of accountability to this and some sort of posted policies. And I know we have a recommendation to City Council, but I think Jonathan just pitched something last meeting and there wasn't a huge appetite for even looking into this issue.
Right.
So I think this is a big concern that we should codify in the charter, that there's at least some oversight there.
Because I can see where you'd want an AI facial recognition camera in a public park, so it would alert to child predators that are lurking.
There's legitimate cases for it, but we need some rules.
I can see positive cases for it as opposed to malicious ones. But anyway, I'm going to come to here, then there, then there.
Okay, I'm just trying to grasp up what this is. We have already here, City Council shall adopt protections governing the collection and use, retention, et cetera, et cetera. Is this document something that you're proposing as a recommendation to the council, or is this document something you're proposing to somehow incorporate into 2.03 as adding definitive, taking it out of the council's hand and saying, we are going to have a board?
I strongly affirm I want this. I'm going to leave it up to discussion. I'm not sure whether I want it in that change or if it needs to be that's the one step I'm not sure. But it is something that I personally do want. But I don't know how I want to, I personally would like to have it in there. I don't know how to word it.
Josh?
So we passed an amendment that, or something to do with guardrails as it comes to artificial intelligence.
203.
Correct. So this doesn't take away from it's not anti-policing, it's not anti-public safety, anything like that. I just see it as, to your point, Craig, how technology just rapidly changes. And a lot of our city council members are not going to be experts on this new technology. And we're already seeing issues with this at the federal level with our Congress, who is unable to act on this because they also are not familiar with this rapidly changing technology. So I just see it as an opportunity for our council to seek residents who have this knowledge and insight to serve on this board, who can kind of provide some guidance to city council. So I don't see it, again, as being like anti the use of this AI. It's just an extra guardrail to ensure, where is this information going, that they're collecting, is our data safe, and stuff like that. The concerns of the citizens, basically.
I hear you. Jamie?
Last time we talked about this, the recommendation was to see if this would pass and then talk to council about creating the board and the committee regarding that, because it is something that is new. So that it could be built by the citizens and developed in a way, where we could have more communication about it. I know it's been brought up, but this hasn't even been recommended yet into our constituents to follow up with the things. So you're reaching a population that hasn't even been notified because they haven't voted on anything or hasn't been brought to their attention. So my understanding was that we would give this to them and then we would create recommendations on how to create the framework. My other thing is like, who are they getting, like, is there a point of adding like an auditor who's in that arena that they could reach out to? Like, can we change language that way? I know we have a lot of citizens that probably have knowledge, but how are we vetting them? Who's gonna get on that board and in the committee? It's open to everyone, right? They submit an application, who's reviewing that application? If we can make it more of like someone with credit behind their skill set, I don't know if we could do something like that. That's where my like recommendation would lean, is like they're looking for a third party supportive, like who has the history behind their knowledge to kind of create and develop something that supports what we have concerns about as citizens. So I don't know if a committee or board would provide that context.
This is a perfect segue. We'll come back. But everyone will turn to the back of your little packet here where it says B, proposed amendments. That should say B, proposed recommendations, right? Okay. Then if you will look down at number 4, that council create a technology and surveillance oversight board.
I think that's plenty.
I think that's what we're saying, right?
Yeah.
That's plenty, because it may be inclusive of this and maybe some other stuff as well.
So, when we have our joint meeting, wait, before I go to that, we have this on our recommendations list anymore, and I'll be asking for people that might want to help present these things. Do we have any other comments? I saw hands raised.
My only, when we started this, there were 4 or 5 people that were interested, and a bunch of people that kind of just, does anybody have any negative reason why we shouldn't support creating a board, was my question. I mean, I don't have a negative reason. I can't say that I am full in, you know. I think it's a great recommendation proposed. I just don't, like I said, I don't see anything negative about it.
Right, the question is, should the board be created by charter or by policy?
I think
Right
it
now,
is
we're probably half our
recommendation.
boards by policy.
Well, on that point,
I'm gonna come back to Josh.
Okay, so this is just a proposed amendment, so these are things that council could consider to pick up.
Proposed recommendations, it's a typo.
So could the wording of our recommendation be already proposed as it pertains to AI? Could it say something or add something about how council can put a board together, not shall, but just leave it open to maybe, allowing it to happen?
That would be a wasted exercise, in my opinion. Either we mandate something in the charter or we don't. If we're recommending something, we don't put the recommendations on how we think it should possibly be in the charter. Yes, sir.
so we have a Parks and Rec Advisory Board in the charter, and that's one of the similar concept here where, like, does that really need to be in the charter? Maybe, maybe not. I would argue that this has a bigger case to be in the charter than that board, because this is civil liberties protections. We're making sure there's rules that monitor how we're being tracked, where our data is being sold, who has pictures of our face, stuff like that. Yes, we could leave it up to council, and then they could also do nothing about it. So this is something that should be codified in the law of the city, that when you're in Pflugerville, unless you're a convicted criminal or the police have an active warrant for your arrest or something to that effect, your face is not being recorded and sold to Flock to train their AI data. Like, we need to have specific rules on this.
It's brief history, and then we'll go to Jamie. When the charter goes way back, of course, the Parks and Recs Commission was one of the original boards, and was part of the early Deutschenfest and did all sorts of great things. It was later voted to be downgraded to the Parks and Recs Advisory Committee, which by charter isn't required to be a standing board anymore. It meets as needed, presumably to manage projects like the new rec center, and then we don't need them anymore, or manage 1849 expansion, then we don't need them anymore. It was downgraded not to be a continual thing. And so I say that only in that being in the charter is kind of a special hallmark. And to your point, civil liberties is a important thing, and something that we want to make sure we build solid safeguards for. So I'm not against it either. I'm just testing the room.
How is it being compared to the state laws that have just,
How is what?
I think there's new state laws that have passed regarding
Yeah,
this too,
and
right?
they stood up an agency, a new agency, and someone said it, there's just so much, that they don't even really know what to do yet. They know there's an issue, but it's happening so fast, they haven't really taken, as far as I know, I've looked at a couple of things, I don't think they've taken much action. But they're supposed to study the issue and give guidance to cities and other local subdivisions on how to handle this.
Okay, sorry. Greg?
Yeah, I was like, there was a period where I actually was on the state. It was mandated by the governor in the pandemic, because there was a conversation centered around every household needs to have some version of internet. How do we get that done, right? And so whether it's cell phone, which is a hotspot, especially in rural areas, do we outfit rural areas that don't have internet with satellite communication that gives them internet? And so the reason why I specifically highlight that experience is because we as a city can only scratch the surface of what the state will do. And so whatever, I am of the belief, kind of like on some of the other things that we've discussed, is to follow the standard of the state. Because one, their resources and their expertise will, in my opinion, far exceed what we can do through a committee whenever they actually are doing it damn near paid consultancy just to do it right. So as it relates to these things, it's important for us to follow a standard on similar to what we've done in some other ones. And kind of saying one of the things you just mentioned, every criminal has its first day. So we just had a shooting here that went right down to Howard Lane. Right? And so the same is true with the Buford dude. I don't think he had a criminal record. So if we put things in place to block eyes and faces, we can't respond quickly to identify those things who have seen downtown. We see us, we got a hit now that's in Pflugerville. And we can't be a safe haven for criminals to come and hang. So
Just to respond to that real quick, so just on that note, like there's already laws in place, I think going back to English common law about like probable cause and what you do in case of an active situation. The police do have overrides that they can then justify after the fact to deal with that. But to go into a little bit into the Clearview thing here that Jonathan just discovered. So what Clearview AI does is it's an identity-based facial recognition technology built on a large database of scraped online images, pulling millions of people's social media profiles to identify people. And then the city did not really announce to anybody that we were using that. And that's incredibly concerning that they're basically scraping everybody's social media and then identifying people via cameras.
I see no problem.
But we didn't have a framework in place, we still don't have a framework.
We still don't have a framework. That's what we're trying to talk about here, yeah.
What a negative is like there is no framework in place, and so how do we build the framework and then have people come in and support and keep that council accountable, right? Like that's the whole point of the committee. Right now, there's nothing to be held accountable for. So the recommendation is let's create that system to be held accountable, and then us as citizens need to fight back and say, hey, you need to be held accountable. Let's create a committee or a board, and then just push our council members harder. So that's kind of like the train of thought that I am understanding, because it is moving quickly.
Mm-hmm. Right, I'm gonna come back to Craig, then you, Jim.
And it bounced a couple times. And the more I'm thinking about it, I definitely want this to be in there. The question as to how much, because there's so much change in technology. I don't want us to be caught flat-footed, and then council scrambling. Oh, this happened. Oh, there's a shooting. Well, okay. Police are adjusting to that. Well, our council, whatever this board is, would be able to help be nimble and actually be more aware of other technologies, also to be able to assist, to be able to make sure that we have good enough technology for things that do happen, and at the same time, make sure that we are using ethical technology that's doing it. So it's not a matter of. It's a matter of the fact that technology is here, it's changing, and it's going to go a lot faster than what we can keep up with. And having a board who's highly interested in this specific topic, they will be hyper aware of any minute changes that may have effects on everything, and they can keep the city council aware of those very specific things. So of us being a safe haven is not going to be, I mean, I don't see that being an issue, because the fact that we'll at least have we'll be protecting our citizens, and we'll be able to have better tools than other places if needed to help support, if we need to help them. So
Bounce over to Jim.
I was just going to point out that there are no known charters that actually address this and mandate a council, or mandate to council that there's what are we calling it, an oversight board. But that Austin did just pass their own Trust Act, like literally April 23rd, kind of addressing a similar topic. So just one like where I like where we've landed. I think it's good to call out that we're going to do something. We're going to have a policy in the charter, and then to recommend. I think it's obvious that we should form an oversight board. And like Sam, if Jonathan was the only one who was pushing for it, I would call 2 or 3 council members person.
Yeah,
we'll get that turned around.
I think Jamie's got the wise words of wisdom there in terms of, let's see if the community passes 203, and then we see how council affects that, right? And then if they don't affect it to our satisfaction, then whoever's here 5 years from now pushes for a board.
Well, and this is moving fast. 2 years from now, we can't exactly predict where things are going to go 2 years from now.
We gotta trust the technology that we have, though.
So,
I mean, I don't think necessarily we're arguing that we should. There's a couple angles here. One is who owns the data. So, is this data going to Flock? Is it owned by the city? Is it owned by the police department? Who actually owns all this data they're gathering? Are they using it to identify? So there's like general civil liberties rules that we have to take into account. So are they using it to identify people who are not just suspected of a crime? Are they using it to identify children? Like, what level are they able to use it? Even if they're not using it that way, are they capable of using it? Is there a limit on that? And is that something we want to restrict in the charter, where it's not necessarily like we're getting the minutia of what systems and how, but like, hey, the system can't do X. Like, that's just kind of the baseline. And then, going to this is a new technology. We could put a very vague thing in and see what happens in 5 years, but 5 years is a long time in AI world, and they could have, done all sorts of stuff in that amount of time. And do we want to have a charter level restriction on specific components where, hey, if you're not suspected of a crime, your data is not being recorded, it's not being sold, it's not going to some big corporation to train, ChatGPT or something like.
In the first line.
Which of what?
Everything, all the points that you just made is in the first line of the.
Yeah.
I think once again,
We've already got it.
I think it's already.
I'm gonna come back to Tracy, then you, Greg.
So from a timing perspective, let's say 203 goes to the voters the way it is and it doesn't pass, but that doesn't preclude council from still going and doing something on
Correct.
their own, right? They could still see the recommendation of creating a board and go, yep, we're gonna create a board. Or they could say, we're gonna have an ordinance that's doing blah, 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 blah,
yeah,
blah.
that's what I'm saying.
Right, like, they
Yeah,
can
that's-
still take action, but this would just get it codified in the charter.
Yeah, and I think
Okay.
council's aware of the evolving nature of this issue.
So,
Wait,
we go ahead.
Greg.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, y'all gotta realize, I'm the guy who believes data is king. every piece that you keep saying is like a narrative that is misleading in my personal opinion. You mentioned that kids shouldn't be filmed. What about the kid that got kidnapped? We don't have a way to say this kid shouldn't be blocked and your kid should be blocked. Data is king. And at the end of the day, whenever you have fingerprints that are old school and facial recognition is so much better, we got to have that here. And if we're pushing back on it, we're more outdated than we need to be. We're actually one of the cities that have caught the attention of so many startup and tech companies. Pushing back on this level of technology defeats that brand that we have gained. But more importantly, I still believe that the way it's written, let the council create a board or whatever the case may be. And my personal feeling is that the way that the boards are made these days have been favoritisms, and the quality of that board will be amateurs compared to the people who getting paid daily. The police department does this on a regular basis, not just for their internal team. They do this with the FBI, Special Forces, Army. That supersedes any committee that can be formed within the city of Pflugerville. And so I just want to just be real 1,000%. This is just, even this board or what you're talking about cannot even come close to what's already happening.
Data is king. We'll come to you. Data is king, and I think we're seeing that in a lot of the sexual predators that have been caught because their DNA matches a family that was doing an Ancestry.com profile with their DNA, and they tracked them down. And so data can be used for good. It could also be used.
I'm confused on why you want your kids recognized by the police.
But I'm with Greg. I don't know that we're ready to start articulating specific guidelines, restrictions, concerns. I think getting the people to vote for 203, passing that, giving teeth to force council to do something, seeing what they do. And if we don't like what they do, then come and either extend what they've done or do more. I'm going to come over here next.
So, I'm kind of in agreement with Gregory there, believe it or not.
Holy cow.
What is happening?
Is that why it's so cold?
I agree.
What did you put in the tea, Trista?
I agreed to Jim while ago, so.
Logic on rise to the
But,
top.
I mean, you got the police taking pictures of a crowd and one person got a gun in that crowd and goes to shoot somebody, you're gonna want that recorded. You can't say, I'm not gonna take pictures of all this other people, but I'm gonna take a picture of that one guy because you don't know that one guy's that one guy. You already have, I look at Nextdoor all the time, you already have Ring cameras taking pictures of every kid in town. This kid's walking down the street, this kid, that's all over the internet as it is now. Everybody's got a Ring camera except for me.
Carrie, I don't have one either.
But it's so that's already been done on a personal level. But as far as a crime fighting type deal, you got technology has advances to help crime fighting. Now, I'm not really in favor of people going and getting my Facebook and comparing my Facebook to something. That I'm not in favor of. But if you got somebody here that they've taken identified as a criminal, and they want to identify that, and they have to use a Facebook or something to identify that, I can see the usage of that. I'm more about the data retention, limiting the data retention on it. For a limited, get the data, use it to fight the crime, but don't keep the data forever type thing.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement that the data can be used in positive ways. And I think we're all in agreement that guardrails are necessary to make sure that it's not used in malicious ways. Philip, you've been way too quiet. I'm going to give you a chance to speak.
Listening.
No,
Paying attention.
this is your time, sir.
I got it. Go ahead.
I'm ready. Lay some wisdom on us, sir. What do you think about all this crazy AI stuff?
I think that if it's gonna cost the city, and again, this is out of our spectrum here, that's up to the city council, the city. But like you guys were saying, these people have to know what they're doing because this stuff is changing constantly and daily. And heck, I can't even keep up with it at home. I get stuff on my computer. I'm going like, what the hell? So yeah, you know, we need. I'm all in agreement with getting this thing done. But the only thing is, cost-wise, and if we want something that's good, we're going to have to pay for it.
Thank you.
I just want to respond real quick to kind of their points, and I'm entirely in agreement with you. It's, you know, a kid gets kidnapped in the park, you want to be able to find him in a crowd, you want to use facial recognition for that. If you're looking at a shooter, same thing. That's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is the cameras basically have the capability to film and track everybody and identify everybody on the camera. So if they're filming a crowd, they can identify everybody in that crowd and track where any single person goes, regardless if they're convicted of a crime, regardless if they're a kidnapped child. They can track that person throughout anywhere there's a camera. And what I'm saying is we should restrict that. We're still filming, and then after the fact, or even live, if, okay, hey, a kid is kidnapped, we have their picture, we can then use the facial recognition to look for just that one person, or just the shooter, but we're not filming everybody here and figuring out, oh, Greg went to 7-Eleven, and then at 3 o'clock he went to Walmart. Like, they don't have that data. They're not recording that unless you're convicted of a crime or suspected of a crime. And that kind of goes into there's a lot of technology changes all the time, AI is changing daily, but there are some very basic civil liberty rules, like the police can't put a camera in your house. They can't come in without a warrant. There's similar things that apply universally across all this technology in that they cannot surveil you and identify you without a warrant or a probable cause. And that's kind of the safeguards we need to, like the minimum standard of safeguards we need to have for these technologies. And then the technologies can run free beyond that. You can have, the police department have the leeway to go within the bounds of civil liberty law, have the ability to go find suspects or lost kids or whatever the case may be, but they're just not recording, and then not even the police department, but the companies that run this technology are not then using all that recorded data to train who knows what systems on whatever level for FBI or ICE or whoever else.
Do you have a cell phone?
Yeah, and yeah, they do it all the time, but
Right.
I don't have any control over that.
We missed the boat on that, right? I mean,
If I could control the laws on the cell phones, I would make the same
City
point.
subscribes to a service, and they can tell you how many people are walking the trails around the lake, so we can figure out if we need to increase amenities there, or which parks have more visitors.
But not who.
But not who, right? But that data is there, it's just masked from the city from seeing, right?
That's what I'm saying,
But-
we need to have
but-
that.
Yeah. But some of the stuff you're talking, I think somebody said it's, Philip or somebody said it, that's at a higher level, our liberties, we have federal laws, state laws that are already governing that thing. And I think what we're looking for is how do we regulate our city-specific use of that data? Does our city share that data with other entities? And so.
And we also adhere to like state and federal law, so if they come up with
Right,
something.
because the state law says you have to share it, then it's done. We're gonna come back to you, sir. Urcha, you've been quiet.
No, I was just going to say, I think you'll get the citizen support for this. There was a gentleman, and I don't remember specifically what he said last council meeting, who spoke on this very issue and his concerns. And I think he's going to speak again at the next council session. So I think that we really need to do this. I do.
Jolly, what you got?
Recommendation.
I'm in
See,
agreement.
you're connected, I'm not, mine's not going on.
Mine's
See,
not going on.
hey, that camera done found
Oh, shit,
somebody,
mine just went.
child abduction.
All right,
Oh, wow.
there's your technology.
I think
working.
the collective on this discussion is that we already discussed it at depth, and this is what we put. And
All
I
right,
think that we
I'm
need to move
gonna
forward.
sense the water here. How many people think 203 as
That's all I'm
written
trying to
is
get to.
sufficient? Raise your hand.
203 is sufficient.
203 as written is sufficient. And how many think we need to continue on and add more to it? All right, so I've got a majority saying that we're sufficient, that we're good with 203 for now.
Can I put one comment to him?
By all means.
I guess, all
Data is
right.
king. Who would be your king? We cannot outpace this industry.
Jesus.
Yeah, no, and that's always the concern is how is the data being used? If it's used to fight evil and keep bad guys away, then yay. But if it's used to track my spending habits at the grocery store and whatever, we get into, what was the movie with the, shit.
It's already.
The missing in action actor.
You can walk into a store and not buy
Chuck
nothing.
Norris?
By the time you get to your
No,
door, you're already-
Mission Impossible, that guy.
Tom Cruise?
Tom Cruise. He did that futuristic movie where they predicted you were gonna kill somebody.
Oh, Minority
Right,
Report.
that kind
That's a good movie.
Minority Report, yeah. Well, if you haven't seen that, watch that one. All right, so I've got everything covered except for one final thing. I'm gonna talk, let Terry talk for a second.
Cam, I know we're not gonna, we all voted, the majority voted not to change this. A lot of work was put in making.
Yeah, no,
Is there any way we could include, we have a recommendation, proposed amendment.
coming back to that, you're gonna have your moment. All right, so, you're gonna have your moment, sir, promise you. No, I got you covered, you know I do. So when we get down to these proposed recommendations, so at this joint meeting, I get to do a lot of talking, but as y'all know, I like to listen to other people talk too. Really, really I do. And so as we present this to there'll be parts about here that some people on the 6 recommendations are more passionate about than others. And so I'm gonna ask for volunteers for each one, and so I'd like to have no more than 2 people, but we can have 3 people representing it. Maybe not all 3 of you speak. Maybe not everyone can show up at the meeting, so it's good to have multiples. But on the first recommendation, the council adopt policy about ETJ, folks out there notifying them. Who would like to speak on behalf of this recommendation? Greg? All right, beautiful. Thank you, sir. Anybody else would like to speak on behalf of this one? Stand there and support Greg? Whisper in his ear?
Give you a thumbs up. Give you a thumbs up. No, I'm gonna thumbs up, I'm not gonna talk.
Number 2, the council adopt economic development proposals. I don't know what the ellipse there is there.
Yes, I think
Mike,
it's just-
an ellipse is 3 dots, not 5 trailing off the edge of the paper.
Got it.
That was waiting on me, that's something I never didn't get him. There was an attachment
Okay.
that was about that.
So we're gonna have additional information about those economic development proposals. Who would like to speak to that item?
I don't remember what that was.
Yeah, can you remind me what those proposals were?
I think the economic development was like specifically certain people that can't do.
What section was
It was more restrictive than anything, but it was just it's a recommendation still, which would also include PCDC.
Who made that
Yeah,
recommendation?
there's no.
Us.
Somebody was passionate
Probably
about
me,
this.
odds are.
Normally
It was,
recommendations
I
are
think it
giving
was in
from
Charles'
our.
first meeting in January.
It was
All
our
right,
first.
Sam's gonna talk about that one. You better,
Hopefully it's mine. Because otherwise
There's
I'll
a
have no idea.
90% chance.
90% chance.
anybody wanna speak with Sam? Yeah, 2 lone wolves, all right.
If you need me.
Number,
Relatively certain that was you, Sam. I'll.
Okay, let me know.
I have 2.
It's been so long.
I was waiting for him to claim it, but,
I'll mark it to 90%.
Sam covered the first 2.
all right, item 3, how, council develop policy, such as how early council receives specific major documents for review to meeting. Who wants to speak about this one?
Terry.
Terry. You got it. Anybody want to speak with Terry?
Nobody's gonna have time after.
I should stand in unity.
If you guys need me, all the first 3, if you need a backup, I'm there.
All right.
I'll be your wingman.
Item 4, the one we just beat to the ground. I think we got Craig for sure.
I'll do that one too.
Yes.
You can't do another one.
No.
Sorry, I'm trying to get coverage for everybody.
Okay.
Can I get my existing?
Yeah, that
No,
would,
Josh,
Josh
you
would
can
be,
speak with, I got Josh.
Josh would
Beautiful.
be a good one.
Thank you, Josh.
Gosh, you can do it.
You can speak here.
That council.
There'll be fewer people at council, don't worry.
No,
Wow.
don't believe that, Josh.
All right, anybody else want to speak with Craig and Josh?
I think I can go.
Yeah, you
Can I
got one
stand?
already.
Can I stand with him
You can stand.
on with Craig as it relates to the technology?
All right, so I'm gonna put Greg and Sam standing.
That's 5.
Standing.
With number 4.
Number 5, council make a policy reporting to the public how fees are calculated and what their revenue covers.
That's that.
What's the context on this one?
It was unnecessary. Oh, that's right. I was gonna say that.
This
I
was
think
from
this was
last meeting.
Jamie.
That's like
No,
the
it's not.
tagline.
This
Okay.
is there a
If
private?
no one
I'm assuming everybody got to stand in unison. We just can't walk out on something.
No, I know, here's my deal, right? If no one wants to represent this,
You
then
gotta do it.
why are we recommending it?
Well, I'll do it, but I can't do 2. So.
Well,
Why don't you just do it?
huh?
You could do it. Yeah, you could just close out the last 2.
What are you, suddenly
I second that
super
one.
chair over?
Closing out-
Just close out the last 2, man.
You're gonna close it out.
Yeah, because they kind of go hand in hand anyway. But I'm assuming the decorum is
I
not to
gotta
walk
do all
out.
the other ones.
But the decorum is not to walk out on the ones we still
Let's,
close.
Sam big too. He's willing to do that.
I
Stand in
want to
unison.
see representation from the entire committee. I mean, that's just the way it
But
works.
if nobody's,
So I
else
would
is.
want to, but I have a conflict. My daughter's
No, I can't do
band
that.
solo recital is the same time.
I got you.
So I don't,
What date is this?
it's the,
Is next council
Is
meeting?
there a second?
Tuesday the 19th.
The second council meeting of the month? Oh, special meeting. 19th, May 19th.
Are you double checking your schedule?
No, let's see it. Let's see it.
I know I've got it on the board. It's a direct conflict. They're both at 6 PM.
Someone want to stand in for Tracy? Urcha?
No, I'm going to stand with Gregory.
You're gonna stand with Greg on number 1?
On the
Which one-
ETJ.
Which one is it?
I would take 5 or 6 if I was gonna be there. I mean, is there other business on the agenda that would like?
Jamie,
discuss
you
later,
done one?
or-
If I speak to this, I will have the nastiest voice.
Good.
Ooh.
Because I don't agree with,
Please.
any of these recommendations. Am I allowed to say I did not recommend this?
No, you
No.
gotta stand in unison.
Sorry.
You gotta stand, trust me.
Just
You
gotta
gotta
be
speak,
neutral.
you gotta
You gotta
speak.
stand in unison.
I appreciate you being forthright about your stand.
Sorry.
Terry hasn't laid
I
one.
will
Oh, that's right, you are.
entertain a
That's right.
motion to strike number 5 as a recommendation, if anybody wants to make that motion.
Sam, was this one made?
Only reason I don't want to strike it is because it went in deep discussion, and this is what we landed on. So to
And everybody
revisit
had a good
that,
night's rest and came back, and I'm happy to
yeah,
vote on
I
it
just
again.
want to keep it. Whether you won or you lost, this is what we landed on, and so I just say keep it as is.
I think that goes back to the transparency of, if I'm being charged a fee for something,
Let's know what it is.
how did we get there? Where is it going?
Yeah. So I think it's justifiable
Do a
to
video
stay in
film
there.
it.
Cause I'm with Jamie, if I've represented, that's gonna be terse. Not nasty, terse.
I would probably ask everybody to be flat
Yeah,
as we present them.
yeah, I would be flat on
Just be
that one.
robotic.
Yeah, because it's like the real notion is to walk
I
out.
can't hide
But
my emotions. I have.
You got
I'm
to.
not hiding.
Jim, what are you
got
doing? You're hiding behind
you
your
gotta be. You gotta. So the biggest thing is you gotta accept the win.
So what do you have to do?
Take the last
5 and 6.
Okay, I'll take 6. I'll take 6. Give me 6.
So he got 6 and
You
Johnny
gotta-
got
you
Johnny
gotta
got 5.
present
Can we talk one at a time, please?
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Because of the recording and stuff, it rumbles. Trust me, I've tried to listen. So to answer Jolly's question on what we have to do, the idea is that you present the recommendation to council and give some justification in terms of why you think, or why the committee thinks it's pertinent. You don't have to,
Talking points with these?
Hell yeah. I'm
What
needle.
is that?
This happened so long ago. I'm
I
still.
mean,
I thought you were just reading the statement.
I don't know about it. I wasn't here last week.
I wasn't either. I watched the video though. Okay, we're jumping.
Okay, I probably can test, no.
5 and
We're
6.
jumping ahead to 6. I've got Jim
Yeah.
will headline. Anyone wants to stand with Jim on this one?
Do I have to talk?
Huh?
Do I have to talk?
No?
I'll stand.
All right.
And so just,
With a skeleton
just for the
face.
record, the setup will be similar to this, just with them also here. So there won't be any actual standing.
Right, but I.
Oh,
I
you
will with
think?
him.
There will not be any actual standing.
We'll definitely stand.
And there may be costumes.
We don't get a podium to speak?
No, because it's gonna be the same setup.
Oh, we're just gonna make it bigger? Council's gonna sit with us?
It's
or-
gonna sit up there.
Oh, well.
It'll be
So we just
closer.
scooped you up. We just scooped you up.
If they're on the,
Jim, I've got a press, who's making the shirts? Right, for the, we're getting shirts, right? I was told I'd get a
I
shirt.
don't know anything
Hey,
about shirts.
Jolly's doing
All
5.
right, I guess I'm making the shirt.
5 is easy. 5 is easy.
Can I just put it in?
We got a fee.
Did y'all talk about that last
I
week?
think it was last meeting.
All right, I got Jim on 6.
And Jolly's
Jamie
5.
standing.
I'll take 5.
Okay, wait. Go ahead.
Jolly, you gonna do 5?
Yeah, but I'm gonna have to go back and listen to the last.
All of us,
Yeah.
all of us will.
Okay.
But I'll do it. Unless somebody, you wanna do it? You want to
Do it back to back.
Here it
Yeah,
is, Governor.
Craig's doing 4.
Oh.
I'm still leaning on, you were at the last meeting, Jim.
No, he
No, you
wasn't.
weren't. Who was at the last
And I'm
meeting?
not, I'm already on 6.
Oh, that's right, you're on 6.
He on 6 and Jolly's
Philip.
on 5.
Yes.
What are you doing over there?
I think Josh can do it.
Jolly,
You wanna do number 5?
Jolly said he's doing 5.
Sherry
Wants to work.
Sherry
You'll back
was at
up
the last
Jolly?
meeting, and she's not
All right,
here
Jolly,
now.
you got a
She's
cohort.
volunteer worker.
Yeah, voluntold.
I'll figure it out by that date.
Yeah.
I'll go back and look.
Yeah.
But that's what
Everybody
you're
was
gonna
running.
Carol wasn't here last.
Yes.
And I would probably say that.
All right, hey, not
Yeah.
one voice at a time, please.
Yeah, I'm just.
When we-
I got Terry.
When we're presenting these, are we going into detail of what,
No,
No.
we just read
you
what's
get 2
here?
minutes.
Okay, so we
Minute
should
37.
do we review the, I guess we have to go review the videos of this to see what the majority said, not a personal opinion.
Correct. Right.
Yeah.
So here's the idea, right? Council's eyes are gonna glaze over if you go longer than 3 minutes. Right, promise you. Because these are recommendations, they'll be in the public record, life will be good. And hopefully no one from council's watching this video and heard me say that. Why are you laughing? Anyway, yeah, so you wanna be concise. You don't really wanna talk about, oh, it was a split vote. You don't wanna say it was unanimous. You wanna stay away from that. This is the body's recommendation, right? And we recommend that council adopt economic development proposals to include these 4 following things. Item 1, item 2, item 3, item 4. And that's it, right? It's just, you're saving my vocal cords because I'm sharing the glory with everybody, right? Everyone gets a chance to
So
say.
we're gonna, very short synopsis of what the discussion was that led up to the decision.
Yeah.
Right, we're not even the discussion about what led up to it, the results of it, right? Let's just focus on because that was messy. We just want to focus on the results of what we're recommending to council. Does that make sense to everybody? Sam?
Do we have, because these were all motions, right? Do we have the actual text of the motions, and then if they were referencing some other document, for example?
These are
that
not
basic-
motions.
I thought they were motions. We motioned we're gonna make a recommendation.
Yeah.
The recommendations are,
Recommendations were also approved by action,
right?
just not as amendments, so they'll all be in the minutes.
They'll be in the minutes, but they're not, we don't,
We don't know which section, article.
Which minute?
But if we could send those out ahead of
The
time,
document that I sent out, whatever day I sent an email out, that document includes the sections. Gotcha.
Yes,
Okay.
it was a comprehensive one.
right.
It's a synopsis.
so we can use the actual motion and then extrapolate based off of that, being that's what was approved, and then here's what that means.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's not a bad framework. Again, focusing on the results, not what led up to it. Is that fair? All right. I think we reviewed every amendment that we've agreed to add. I think we've edited a few and made some changes. We'll get those changes sent out so that everyone has a chance to read them before the council meeting. And at this point, does anybody else have anything they want to add? Tracy?
I just have one comment. In the changes that are in here, there were some strikeouts that were changing the Texas Open Meetings Act to Public Information Act. Will that also be, if you go through the rest of the document, we're not making amendments, but where it might still be referencing to change those, because like 807 has, the title is Texas Open Meetings Act. Okay, all right, I just want to make sure that everything kind of comes in alignment.
Some of these will go, like the propositions that go on the ballot will say, changing the reference to the Texas Open.
The Public Information Act.
Yeah, all through the whole document.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, just want to make sure.
Should we read through the entire thing again, just to make sure we got it?
Well, no, it's funny you should say that, because I've got it, all the notes here, the minutes in front of me, and it's not even 9 o'clock, guys. I mean, I've got time to read it all. My voice is holding out. Craig gave me a cough drop, blame him. Oh, Terry trying to kill poison me over here.
It's sugar-free.
All right, last chance.
I have one, did you make a note that I'm gonna be with Greg on one?
Sorry, there's too many people talking.
I'm gonna be with Gregory on one, on the ETJ one.
I got you on one. I got
Okay,
you.
good. Thank you.
Underlined as standing.
Okay, good. I didn't let talk.
Anything else? Making eye contact, Josh. Philip, anything else? Looking around? I don't even look at these two guys. All right. That being said, all items, wait, let me double check. Where's my, well, that was item 3. Well, all right, I did a good job. We don't even need a motion. All items on the agenda are satisfied. We are adjourned at 8:50.